Unbelievable end to the Phillies game against the Dodgers last night. Who's on first? What's on second? No, he's on third. He should be on third. No, he's going back to second. Phillies lose 2-1 to the Dodgers last night on a base running blunder, if you will. What a perplexing end to the game. Had a little feel-good moment there. You're down 2-1 going into the ninth. Get a couple of guys on, feel pretty good about it. And in the blink of an eye, a base-running blunder has everybody talking today. What should they have done? How do you handle it? What do you do in that situation? Don Mattingly, what are you doing? Really, if it's on contact, both guys are flying there. Justin Crawford, he was out either way, no matter what he did. He was too far off the bag. Ball's hit right at the third baseman. Doesn't have a chance to get back to the bag. So he has to break for home because he knows he's dead out if he goes back to third. Realmuto, he's going on contact. That's clear because he is 75% to third base as the ball is hit. So he thinks that Crawford's breaking for home because he thinks it's go on contact. So they both have the sign to go on contact. And it looked like Crawford kind of stopped initially, and then he made the decision to go. Once you stop and you're flat-footed in that spot, you're out. You're dead out in that spot. I think that Crawford was out either way. He was too far off the bag to be able to get back to third. So he's either in a rundown in that spot, which what ends up happening, if they get Crawford in a rundown, JT needs to go to third base, just stand on the bag. Then both guys potentially end up on the bag. One out, one safe. JT and or Crawford, one of those guys is on the bag. And then what has to happen is Crawford has to get himself in the rundown long enough that the runner from first, who would be Marsh in this situation, can get to second. So you reset up the second and third situation, and now you have two outs. And instead, you got both guys out. It's just an unbelievable ending to the game. You want to know how unbelievable the ending of that game was? The Dodgers in that game, so for those of you scoring at home or on Game Changer, it was a 5-2, 6-4 double play. You're up one with runners on second and third, and that's the way you end the game. It is the first time a one-run game ended on a double play with at least 3 assists since 2017. So you're talking about the oddity of that play. It was a 9-year gap in something to that effect. And I don't know that anything as dumb as that happened last night in any game to end. You had a 5, so for the people out there who have no idea what I'm talking about, a 5-2-6-4 double play. Third base 5, catcher 2, shortstop 6, second base 4. 5-2-6-4 double play. And it's just a base running blunder. Now, in all walks of life, we want to know who's at fault, right? Who's to blame? Sometimes you just have a brain fart and you just basically, Crawford said last night he was instructed to go on contact, except if the ball's hit right to the third baseman. So what I saw is, this happens a lot. Listen, they want him to go on contact. But if the ball's hit right at the third baseman, you have to not be off the bag far enough so that you can get back to the bag. Because if the ball's hit hard right at him, now, you have a left-handed hitter up in Marsh. You have a left-handed hitter. The last thing that you are thinking is going to happen is that he is going to hit a hard one-hopper right to the third baseman. That is about as rare as you could possibly think. So if you're the runner, Justin Crawford, he is being instructed to go on contact. The ball is put in play, so he's just breaking. Because the last thing he's thinking is he's going to hit one right at the guy who's standing 5 feet from me. And then the ball is hit to Muncy, and then he hesitates. That hesitation, in the game of baseball, anytime you stop or there's hesitation or you think, thinking is not a good thing in that game. And when you stop and have to think for a split second, you're done. And that mistake gets basically multiplied by an even worse decision by Real Muto. Crawford, I can understand to some extent. He's being instructed to go on contact unless the ball's hit to the third baseman. With a left-handed hitter up, you're not believing that the ball's going to get hit to the third baseman. It's just like, dude, he's got to really go the opposite field and put one on the ground, and that's pretty rare to see Marsh do. But that's what he did. He hits it right to Muncy. Muncy fields the ball in front of the bag, but Crawford is so far down the third baseline that he really doesn't have the opportunity to get back to the bag. So worst case there, he tries to get back to the bag, and maybe he's tug out there. Problem becomes Real Muto now is so far towards third base that even if Crawford doesn't get caught in the rundown and he gets, tries to dive back into the bag. Let's just say he tries to dive back into the bag. I imagine that Muncy tags him out. And then if he's, doing what you should do, you are in a situation where the third baseman looks right up and sees there's Real Muto, too far off the bag, and now he's caught in a rundown. So it's a little cue shot roller towards Muncy. And initially, as soon as that ball, it wasn't hit very hard, but it's kind of rolling slowly towards the third baseman Muncy. At that time, see, this is where Crawford, he's being told to go on contact. So he kind of starts his way towards home, and then he realizes, this ball's hit right to the third baseman, and then he stops. So if he keeps going there, potentially Real Muto reads it differently. But Real Muto, this is where he makes a major mistake. He basically walks to the third base. He's now on third base. And Real Muto's now on third base. Well, Crawford's still in the rundown. He heads back towards third base. And that's when Real Muto, he starts to head back towards second. And then if you watch the catcher, he's pointing, he's on his way back too. And I got to give Mookie Betts a lot of credit. Betts makes the throw with essentially not even having any room to throw because he's got no place to step. And he basically throws this all upper body, and he throws a strike to Edman at second base. It's unbelievable the throw that Betts makes. He's on the third base line. He's got the runner dangling down by his feet, and he makes that throw. Pretty unbelievable for Betts. Pretty stupid for JT. And Don Mattingly actually said at the game, I don't know what JT was thinking there. Look, sometimes we fail to remember that these guys are actually human beings, and they do make mistakes. That's just a flat-out mistake. Now, whose fault is it? I can tell you whose fault it would be if Rob Thompson was managing this team. It would be his fault, right? They don't practice base running. They're the worst base running team. Is that Don Mattingly's fault last night? He probably had a go. That comes from the dugout. That call would come from the dugout. But I'm not going to sit here and blame Don Mattingly for his catcher basically having a brain fart. It happens from time to time. But it was a terrible situation for it to happen. Terrible spot in the game, obviously. You have a chance to win that game. And by the way, you have a chance to win that game on a night where the Braves lose. So you could have gained a game on the Braves last night. You have a good chance to beat the Dodgers and win the series, and then go into today with a chance to sweep. And unfortunately, they don't get the job done. Muncy hits the 2-run homer. You knew it. He hit that ball. It sounded like a homer. Second home run in his last 5 games. Robleski, this was pretty obvious. We told you yesterday during the Phillies Fastball, take the under. Robleski, 6 and a third, 5 hits, 7 strikeouts. 4-0 with a 189 ERA in his last 5 starts. He's gotten to the 7th inning for 5 straight starts now. So you knew when the lefty was pitching there was going to be some problems for the Phillies, and predictable. Zach Wheeler had his streak of games with 10 or more strikeouts snapped. He had 9 last night. 6 straight wins that he had, the Phillies did, with him on the mound, that got snapped last night. The other thing is Schwarber 0 for 4 last night. His 22-game reaching base streak was snapped, and that was the longest active streak in Major League Baseball. So those were some of the observations from the game last night. But obviously, what happened at the end of the game has everybody talking. Joe in EHC says, I don't blame Crawford. I blame JT for not holding third. Listen, if Joe, you're right. If we're placing blame here, JT gets more blame than Crawford. JT definitely gets more blame than Crawford. Not even a question. Crawford is in the situation now. Information Lenny says, I'm surprised. I absolutely knew you'd blame Crawford, but you didn't. Why would I blame Crawford? I mean, I don't dislike Crawford in any way, shape, or form. If Crawford was at fault, I'd blame him. If he's not at fault, I'm not going to blame him just to blame him. That's a bad job by you, Thea. I have nothing against Crawford. I call it as I see it. That's a JT. He's the one in I think Crawford, and he said after he was instructed to go on contact. He was doing what he was told, unless the ball was at the third base. Problem is the ball was hit so softly to third base. I think he just didn't know what to do. He got caught in the middle. I mean, if he breaks right away, I don't even know because it's hit kind of like a cue shot. If he breaks right away, I don't know that he makes that. But you're in a weird spot. Here's what Don Mattingly said after the game last night. All right, so real quick, let's stop it there. The question from Jim Salisbury, it sounded like was Crawford going on contact regardless of where it was hit? He said yes. So it didn't matter that it was hit to the third baseman or right at him. He was instructed to go no matter what. So again, I'm not blaming Crawford. He's doing what he's told in that situation. The blame goes to JT. What are you doing? You were on third base. You successfully made it to third base. Why'd you go back to second? Here's Don Mattingly. He said, Mattingly is essentially saying what I said. We're taking a gamble. We're taking a gamble that that ball is being hit anywhere but there. So we're going on contact because we're taking a gamble that the ball is hit anywhere but there. Look at the defense. They've got Muncy on the grass at third. They've got Betts. He's playing up the middle almost at short. So they're giving you the run. They're conceding the run in that spot. If you hit the ball anywhere else in the field except for the third baseman. So Mattingly essentially says, yeah, we're gambling in this situation that he's going to hit the ball somewhere other than to the third baseman. And it didn't happen last night. Here is what JT Realmuto told reporters after the game last night. Okay, so once he said it's a lack of judgment. So we want to try to say all of the stuff to put the blame on. JT's putting the blame on himself. He knows he made a mistake. It was a lack of judgment. That is ultimately what ends up happening here. Okay, that was a good question. Did you think there was two outs? Because if you think there's two outs, you're just running on contact and you're assuming that the third baseman is going to make the play and throw over to first base, and that would be the game. So that's a question that would ask the lapse in judgment could have been, I just didn't know forgot how many outs there were. That happens from time to time as well. Here's more from JT. Okay, here's another interesting part. He said, I thought that Crawford could get out of the rundown there for some reason. So essentially, he's giving the base third back up so that Crawford can make his way back to the bag if he, in fact, got out of the rundown. So the fact that Crawford is such a fast base runner, Real Muto actually believed that potentially he could have got out of the rundown. Here's more from JT. All right, there's JT finishing off talking about, hey, we think we match up well with that team. And your pitching staff in the playoffs last year, they did match up well with them. And then last night, Zach Wheeler matched up well again. So if you're the Phillies, you know the Dodgers are looming. And man, we have a game where Christopher Sanchez pitches and he starts the game and he pitches pretty well. Now, the bullpen made that game a mess on, what night was that? What's today? Wednesday. So that was on, I guess, Monday night, the game 10-7. That was the Monday night game. But you got Sanchez. Then Wheeler shuts them down. I mean, Wheeler pitches 7 innings. He gives up 5 hits. He has 9 strikeouts. Your two starting pitchers, again, much like the playoff games last year, your starting pitchers shut their offense down. That's something that, again, you might have to consider of what and how you want to improve your team. Now, last night, there's so many. This is a Rubik's Cube that I just don't know that you can put together. If you're the Phillies, great starting pitching, we've shut their offense down. Problem is we can't score. Okay? Well, do we go out and get more offense? Is that player available? But when the bullpen has to be asked to come in on Monday night, they can't get the job done. Luckily, that night our offense came to play. But that hasn't been the case like last night. Got 1 run in the first inning. You hit the who had the RBI last night? Who was that last night? Boom! Had the RBI last night. Forgot about that. Yeah. Bohm with the RBI. He had a big night last night, Bohm, 3 for 4. So, yeah, I talked about him yesterday and getting him out, from time to time with Sosa. But he said, the heck with that. I'm having 3 hits last night. So, there we go. Bullpen last night does the job. Alvarado, Bolin. You give up the 2 runs, Wheeler on the home run by Muncy, and that's all they get. But conversely, you only get 1 run. It's a tale of the Phillies and then the base running blunder last night. That's how we kinda start off the show today, 609-403-0973. Today. This is the summer of Josh on Wednesdays. He's taking these Wednesdays to recharge the battery as we are getting ready for the start of Eagles training camp. That's right, Eagles training camp. A week from today, the Eagles will be on the field, and we'll have it for you here on the Sports Bash. This hour of the show is brought to you by the law office of Craig A. Altman, proud sponsors of Philadelphia sports coverage in South Jersey. Let me tell you about my friends at the Branches Outreach. They're on the move. You've seen them recovering fresh food from local grocery stores before it goes to waste. They bring meals and essential supplies to communities all across Cape May County. They're stocking pantry shelves. They're supporting families. They're connecting people with advocacy, case management, and resources that can change lives, neighbors' lives. Last year alone, the branch's outreach served nearly 14,000 warm meals, provided more than 6,400 pantry distributions, and helped more than 15,000 family members. And all of that depends on them being able to get there. So right now, they have launched the Road Ahead campaign. They're trying to purchase a new outreach van that will allow them to drive around and pick up all the supplies and things that they need. You can help make that a reality. So whether you live in Cape May County year round or you're somebody down here listening to the show on vacation for the first time, visit thebranchesoutreach.org and support the Road Ahead campaign today and help make this a reality. When we come back, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, busy show. Dave Gallagher has the week off as well. He is actually doing work down in Florida with some of the Major League Baseball draftees. So he'll be back next week. Would love to get his take on that base running situation last night. But we'll talk to Mike, we'll talk to Kevin Cooney, we'll talk to you out there on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. I'm Mike Gill, and this is the Sports Bash. 229 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. A week from today, we'll be at Ventnor Social, Phillies day game watch party. You can win a trip to Baltimore to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. That's all happening next Wednesday. The Sports Bash will be live. And listen, all you got to do is show up and you have a chance to win. You must be present to win. You put your name in the box. We'll draw a name out of the box. Someone's going to see the Phillies play the Orioles. That game will be on Friday at Camden Yards in Baltimore. Phillies-Orioles. The Phillies day game watch party on Wednesday. They're taking on the Marlins. So we'll have the game on at Ventnor Social. Then we'll pick a winner, and someone will go see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Kevin Cooney's Cooney report coming up at 3 o'clock. Also, a little bit later on, we'll be doing football at 4, a week from the start of training camp. We got a little Eagles itch today. Started to get that little scratch. Anybody else feel like, hey, it's time to talk a little Eagles and get down and dirty with the birds? We'll do that. We do it all summer long anyway. Mosher and the football at 4 crew. Every single day we do football. But I did get a little itch today with the Eagles. I was starting to think a little bit about some of the things that I think are going to be a big factor in the Eagles season. One, get into this. Does anybody else have a hypothesis for me that they want to throw into the mix? Now, let's just assume or say that the Eagles' offense struggles. Give me a scenario on how that ends. What happens at the end of the season? I do want to get into that. So think about it. Text me 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. What happens if the Eagles' offense struggles? What are some of the end results? We'll get into that a little bit later on. Right now, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, PressofAC.com, is here as the Phillies. I don't know, Mike. You've been covering sports a long time, high school, all sorts of levels, all the way up to the majors. Have you seen an ending quite like that?
No, I haven't. Obviously, the only time you ever see a guy run the bases backwards is when there's a great catch in the outfield that they weren't expecting to make, and a guy has to kind of retrace his footsteps to second base or first base. But that isn't a base running mistake last night by JT Realmuto. That would have been egregious at the T-ball level of baseball.
Now, he did say he just had a lapse in judgment here. Essentially, this isn't a bigger deal than what it was. He just flat out made a mistake. There's no blaming this guy, that guy, or the other guy. He made a mistake here. Or do you see it a different way?
Well, I'll tell you what I see, Mike, and in terms of a bigger picture, I wonder what you think about this, right? I look at the Phillies. Obviously, we watch the Phillies. We see just about every game. And we see the top of the rotation in Christopher Sanchez and Zach Wheeler and Jesus Luzardo. And you see Johan Duran at the closer's spot. And you see the power in the lineup with Schwarber and Harper and Trey Turner start hitting. But then you look at Monday night where Trey Turner, has physical issues fielding a ground ball, can't field a ground ball, could have been charged with 2 or 3 errors. And then you look at the base running mistake that JT Realmuto made last night, and then you see how they got eliminated from the playoffs last year. Game 2, not being able to get the tying run home with no outs from second base. Game 4, watching a relief pitcher throw the ball away when he just should have thrown to first base. And you say to yourself, is this team fundamental to go deep in the playoffs and win a World Series? Or are these physical and mental fundamental issues going to continue to rear their ugly head and cost them?
So that's an interesting point you make, Mike. Many times a bad base running team, a team that has base running problems. The Phillies have been a team that have been overly aggressive on the bases. Last night, Don Mattingly said they were basically going on contact no matter what, and that's essentially what ends up happening. The ball's it's kind of a cue shot to third. Crawford probably couldn't get back. He was kind of stuck in no man's land. But in the past, that's Thompson's fault. They're a horrible base running team. When the team has problems running the bases or has an issue like the play last night, do you look at the way they are coached?
I mean, everything's open for debate, but I think what makes the play so shocking from Rio Muto is that's got to be on the player. That's got to be instinct. I mean, I've been watching baseball my whole life. We've seen that play a million times. You end up with two guys on third base. The fielder runs back. He tags both guys. The umpire decides who stays and who goes. I know there's a read. I know Crawford would have been the guy to go and stuff like that. But we've seen that play a million times in baseball. And to see Rio Muto just take off for second base was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like he's going backwards. And the other lost thing of that play, Mike, is obviously – they're going on contact. The ball was hit to the one place where it couldn't have been hit, right? Right at the third baseman. If it's hit anywhere else, they probably score the run. But they got to end up, they had second and third with one out when that play happens. When that play is over, they have to end up with second and third and two outs. And the lost part of that play is if you watch like the highlights of it, Brandon Marsh kind of runs through the bag at first base and then just kind of hangs around in no man's land towards first base. Brandon Marsh should have been head down, rounding first base, busting it for second, so they have second and third with two outs. And I wonder if Rio Muto, when he takes off for second base, if he looks up and sees Brandon Marsh heading towards second base, maybe Rio Muto says, what am I doing? And he's able to scramble back to third. So it wasn't just Rio Muto that wasn't fundamentally sound there. It was like a team sort of base running breakdown. Now, do we attribute that to the manager and the coaches? Yeah, I guess we could, because it's their job to make sure that this team is fundamentally sound. And this team mentally and physically at times has struggled, be it Rob Thompson as manager or Don Mattingly.
Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. You wrote an article about Trey Turner, and you talked about him being the ultimate roller coaster. It's interesting because you need the offense he gave you Monday night, but you don't need the defense you gave him Monday night. And his night is a tale of what this team is. Are they a team that is better off winning 10-7 the way they did the other night, or are they a team that's better in a low-scoring pitching duel?
Yeah, it's interesting. I almost think the higher scoring the game, the better it is for them, because that, the more runs you score, the higher scoring game, the less each one play matters. Obviously, 1-0 game, each play is critical, and those plays have kind of cost them. But then again, they're a team built on pitching. So, how can you say they're a team built to win 10-7 when the strength of their team is a rotation that is going to keep them involved in 2-1, 3-2 games? So if you're going to be a team that plays like that, you had better be fundamentally sound, and you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. And they just, at times, both in the playoffs and in the regular season, struggle with these issues and kind of are their own worst enemy.
Mike, so many people have wondered, can you just move Turner? I was reading your article at pressofatlanticcity.com, and it says, he's in the fourth season of an 11-year deal. I mean, he's got 7 years left, and you wrote a position change could eventually be part of Turner's future. When do the Phillies start to decide when the time is right to do that?
Well, I think in the off season, Mike, I think that's when that is going to happen, or that's when that discussion, takes place. The Phillies, have been, the players have been behind Trey Turner both after the game on Monday and Tuesday. They're not going to switch a guy like that in the middle of the season. So any discussion of that, and I think it's a discussion that is going to have to happen, and there is merit to it, whether him switching to second base or left field. But that is not going to happen until this, until.
Why do we think that is? Why do we think these teams are hesitant to do that? Like, if you could take Edmundo Sosa and say, hey, go play left field, why can't you say to Trey Turner, look, you have actually played the outfield before. We have to improve. That's our improvement. Why can't they do that?
I think it's a couple of things. I think number one, it's his status as a player. You're talking about a guy who's had a long, successful major league career. I know there are people out there right now driving off the road and saying, well, if the coach or the manager tells him to go play a position, that's the position he has to play and he has to accept it. That's simply not the way the world works. And they're not going to make the guy change position in the middle of the season, risk making him uncomfortable at the plate. Also, that's a big deal. And so you lose him at the plate and in the field. So that's why he's going to continue to be your shortstop.
Yeah, I by the way, I agree with you. I just think it is kind of weird that you can't say, hey, you know what? You have played the outfield before. That's going to help us out. Because it leads me to my next question for you. Because yesterday, ESPN.com put a list of 100 trade candidates and the best fits. 3 of those trade candidates that they said were the best fits for the Phillies were catchers. So could you imagine a situation where the Phillies said, hey, listen, we got a bat. It's a right-handed bat. It's going to hit in the middle of our lineup, but it's going to be the catcher. Could you envision that actually being a possibility to go that far outside the box? You're saying, how do you find this right-handed bat? Well, you got one that's really struggling as your catcher. What if you got like a Hunter Goodman or a Langoliers or a Rushman?
Yeah, Mike, I can't see that, I guess he'll take that bat, whatever, but you're talking about a team right now that already has 3 catches on the roster. So, maybe if you include one of the catches.
Well, 2 right now. 2 right now. Apparently, Stubbs had an injured wrist yesterday.
Right. Stubbs is on the injured list, but, 3 catches on the 40-man roster and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't see it happening basically, but I guess if, any port in a storm, so if you do have a guy who is a valuable bat and you can trade one of the catches out, it might be an option. But then how do you get that guy into the game in the playoffs where you already have a DH in Kyle Schwarber and you have a catcher in JT Realmuto? So if you're making a trade for a right-handed at bat to bolster the lineup, how do you get that guy in the lineup in the postseason? That would be my big hang up with that.
They did call up Brian De La Cruz yesterday, Mike, a right-handed bat. That's another outfielder now. So you've got a right-handed bat with him and Hill and Crawford. And then you've got, obviously, Marsh and Rincones, or Crawford's left-handed, excuse me. So you do have platoon options out there. Are you intrigued to see if Brian De La Cruz can be an answer for them?
Yeah, I am, Mike. And it's interesting because we watch these guys, these outfielders come up from Otto Kemp to Felix Reyes to Rincon and now to De La Cruz, and we're all waiting for one of them to sort of seize the opportunity and really take advantage of it and really find a spot in the lineup. The first 3 guys haven't done it. Maybe this guy will. Maybe the law of averages will work out. Eventually, if you throw enough stuff at the wall, maybe something will stick. And maybe De La Cruz is a guy who can help you. He certainly helps them with giving them some flexibility off the bench and in the outfield, which you really did not have. I know they tried to build Stubbs as a utility guy, but basically with 3 catchers on the roster, you were a bit limited. So this guy does give you more flexibility, and we'll see if this guy can succeed where the 3 guys before him haven't.
Well, usually, Mike, in the 9th inning of a game against a left-handed pitcher in the past, you would have seen a right-handed batter come up in that spot. Don't forget, Marsh was the batter against a left-handed pitcher, and he hits a little cue shot down the third baseline. You wonder, as he's starting to struggle a little bit, whether or not they start, now that they have an option, do you see them go back to possibly hitting for him in that spot?
Yeah, I think it depends on who the lefty is, and we'll see what Marsh does. You saw them, they dropped him in the lineup last night against a lefty. He had been hitting 4th or 5th against lefties. I think he was hit 7th last night. So maybe you saw the first step of that last night when they dropped him in the lineup against Wroblewski. So yeah, it's something that they're going to continue to monitor and continue to watch. Marsh has struggled a little bit since the All-Star break, struggled a little bit in July. There have been some positive signs, however, home run the other night. But, last night when they drop him in the order, they're not in a position to sort of just let guys sort of just go on their own way and not try to shake them up a little bit. So yeah, last night they dropped Marsh in the order, and that tells me they're looking at everything and considering it everything. And I think it depends on what sort of lefty you have in that situation, because that's the other thing. You go back to that play last night. Second and third, one out. Marsh has got to put that ball in the air. Figure out a way to put that ball in the air or pull it to the right side of the infield where you can get a run in. He hit the ball in the one place where it couldn't be hit.
Exactly right. Well, it's interesting because Derek Hill also earlier in the 7th inning, he came up to bat, faced a righty. Normally, when Thompson was the manager, they generally would have hit for him in that spot. With the platoon left-hander would have came up and hit in that spot. So we'll see. Hill struck out on 3 pitches, by the way. He has been pretty productive, mostly facing left-handed pitching. So we'll see if the Phillies find the urge to kind of re-implement some platoon stuff. But they'll do it again tonight. It's the Phillies and the Dodgers. Eric Lauer, a left-hander who has been pretty good for the Dodgers, will face Aaron Nola, who has not been pretty good for the Phillies. And Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City is back on Friday to take a look back at this series and ahead to the Yankees series with us here on the Sports Pass. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mike, we'll see what we see at the ballpark tonight.
Always something, man. We got, and thanks, man. So we'll see what we see at the ballpark tonight. We said last night a 5-2-4, 6-4 double play to end the game last night. That one you don't see all the time. All right, more Sports Bash on the way. Thanks to Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Make sure you follow him at Press McGarry. Coming up, do you remember things that happened on this day, July 27th, the Philly theme today? Got some Phillies things that happened on this day that we'll look back on. Hey, let me tell you about my friend Rocco over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Hey, if you've been thinking about an Acura, you know how many people want to drive an Acura? It's an awesome car. When I went over there and talked to Rocco, I had the Acura. He said, hey, take this. Take it for a spin. Gave it to me for a couple days, and I just drove it around. And I said, my gosh, this is different. This is something you got to yearn to get to. Well, he can take care of you. And they built a loyal fan base like myself because they do things the right way. I could walk in there and say, hey, man, car's in the shop. Can I take one of these bad boys here? Can I get an Acura? Can I do that? You can do it. You can make it happen. Stop by and see how they deliver the kind of performance, precision, and dependability that you can count on. It's a team at Key Acura. They back it up with outstanding customer service. Go see for yourself. Key Acura Atlantic City, a small but friendly dealer right there on Tilt Road EHC, online, Key Acura, AtlanticCity.com. 252. Do you remember these events happened today, July 22nd? Little Philly theme today. Not a whole heck of a lot happening on the grand scheme of things, but on this day in 1977, Mike Schmidt hit a walk-off homer, dramatic ninth-inning walk-off home run off Dodgers reliever Elias Sosa at Veterans Stadium to secure a 4-3 win, and the Phillies charged to their second straight NL East title. That happened on this day in 1977. On this day in 1980, lefty Steve Carlton struck out 7 Padres in a 2-0 win at the Vet. In doing so, Carlton passed Bob Gibson to set the National League record for career strikeouts at the time, 28-16. Lefty Steve Carlton. And speaking of a lefty, on this day in 2007, at 44 years old, Jamie Moyer at Citizens Bank Park pitched a complete game, 5-hit shutout against the Padres. It was a 4-0 win. It made him the second oldest pitcher in Major League Baseball history to throw a complete game shutout. Only Phil Niekro was older than Jamie Moyer. And that's what happened on this day. Do you remember any of those moments? I remember the Moyer one, 4-0 against the Padres. I definitely remember that. The other two, wasn't quite old enough yet. Wasn't quite old enough yet. Sports Pass this hour brought to you by the law office of Craig A. Altman, proud sponsors of Philadelphia sports coverage in South Jersey. We come back. Kevin Cooney joins us for the Cooney Report. His latest Substack asked an interesting question today. It says, who are we fooling? We'll dive into that and some more of his opinions on the Philly sports scene as the great Kevin Cooney, columnist, joins me with a preview of some pre-Eagles training camp thoughts. We gave you a little taster of it last hour. We're going to dive in it with Kevin. We get thoughts on where the Phillies are. The Cooney Report with Kevin Cooney is next, right here on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 3 o'clock hour. Who we fooling? Kevin Cooney writes over at his Substack today. His latest one is out as the Phillies have a Little League ending to the game last night. 5-2, 6-4 double play. That's how it ends. This hour brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, 609-390-3907, online, broadleafs.net. You had heating, cooling, and air conditioning on that final play. We're going to dive into that, some other Phillies thoughts, some pre-training camp thoughts with the great Kevin Cooney. His column and Substack is out. You can check it out, Kevin Cooney on Substack. Make sure you get that right now and follow him at Kevin Cooney on the Twitter X platform as he joins me now on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN. And Kevin, we got so much going on, but you have covered the league for quite some time. You have been around Major League Baseball for essentially your entire, broadcast journalistic career. Have you ever seen an ending to a game quite like that?
No, and especially not by a team that you would say has the capability of or dreams of doing something in October. You just don't do this. And Mike, what alarms me is this is not a one-off. This team is awful on the bases. We saw the other night with Trey Turner. Defensively, they're not good. They're kind of in the spot on talent alone, but I almost get the sense that the talent gets outweighed. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers do every little thing right. And the Dodgers won a World Series 2 years ago against the Yankees by forcing the Yankees basically to self-destruct. Well, that's how they did it against the Phillies last year in the playoffs. And you saw last night, that's kind of how the Phillies did it to themselves again. And the fine line between being a possible champion and a team that's just going to make the playoffs is what you saw last night.
Well, and it's funny, Kevin, because they're right there, because in the playoffs last year, their starting pitching shut the Dodger offense down. It was when the game got to the bullpen. So when you have the ability to kind of go toe-to-toe, you have to be able to win the other areas, and they seemingly come up short in those other areas.
Well, everybody talked about this last night, the Castellanos base running in Game 2, when they really kind of had the Dodgers on the ropes at that point, and him going on contact and everything. I don't understand why, with Muncy drawn in last night, why Crawford's going on contact. I don't. That play.
Well, what Mattingly said after the game, he essentially said we were gambling, and the odds of the ball from a left-handed hitter queuing to the third baseman are pretty minimal, but that what ends up happening.
I get it, but here's the other part on this. The other part to me is, okay, if you want to be super aggressive, well, why is Crawford still standing on first base through the entire Sosa at bat? And when he gets to 3-1 on Real Muto before the double, why is he standing on first base there? You can't be one and then be the other. And the Phillies, and this is a coaching issue, this part, the Phillies have to decide. If you're pinch running Justin Crawford into the game, then let him go. And I get Tanner Scott has a great move and a short step and all that. But when it gets 3-1, run. Just run. Just try. Because he should have been able to score on the double if he's at second, or if he's in a spot where he doesn't, one, hesitate when the ball's hit, and two, not coasting into third, and three, if he's on the move anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, listen, Crawford, he's kind of hung up in no man's land. The ball, he's too far off the bag, so he can't get back. So now he's stuck. JT's the one that makes the ultimate. Now, all of that you're saying to lead up, but JT makes it. And he said after the game, I just had a lack of judgment.
Well, and that's the thing. And also, by the way, what's lost in all this is, why isn't Marsh on second base once Real Muto gets a third?
That's another, he ran through the bag as if it was a ground ball, and the third baseman was coming up to make the throw across. And that's why I thought it was interesting. Somebody asked the question to JT whether or not he didn't know how many outs there were, because Marsh running through the bag, you would think the third baseman with 2 outs is just going to throw through and get the out of first and the game's over. But JT went off as if he thought, but he said no, we were going on contact no matter what.
And again, the contact play, I get it. Middle infield, go with contact. The Dodgers with the infield, with the second, short, and first back are basically allowing the run. They're kind of playing for extra innings at that point. With Muncy up, that contact play should not be on. I mean, honestly, I'm not comparing myself to anything, and Wankel will probably yell at me. When the ball's hit through a third baseman that's in front of the bag, runner shouldn't go. Shouldn't. But yeah, you're right. Real Muto is the ultimate mistake. But the whole play screwed up from the start.
You wrote over at your Substack that this is the absolute dumbest play you've ever seen in your life. And as you say, you've been covering this game or watching this game for almost 50 years. And that last night is the dumbest play you've ever seen in your life. Especially
to end a game. I mean, look, there are times you see stuff and go, man, that's really stupid. But to end a game, and a 2-1 game at that. Now, look, the problems with the Phillies are multitudes. You have one hit or one run. You shut down basically after the first inning. You really, you've now been held to one run 3 of the last 4 games. There's a ton of stuff, and that's what ultimately dooms it. And Mike, what I was trying to say, and I don't know if I got it across maybe as well as I should have, was this is why anything they do at the trade deadline is really window dressing. You're not changing the culture of this team. You're not until it's off season or until you really blow it up. And I think what's alarming to me is all these players that are making mistakes. JT Realmuto's the leader on the field, right? One of the smarter guys, we think, because of the way he handles pitching staffs and everything. For him to make that play just shows how fundamentally lax this team can get at times when one of your smart guys makes a dumb play like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we brought this up yesterday. I'm sure, the ESPN.com had its 100 tradable guys, and then they had best fits. They had 10 players, Kevin, that were best fits for the Phillies. 3 of those players were catchers. Could you envision any scenario where Dave Dombrowski says, look, I can't find a right-handed bat to play anywhere else, but I can get a 30 home run guy who catches?
No, I can't see it because you've already invested, 3 years into the catching spot.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it was last year, yeah, because you didn't have Realmuto under contract and, you thought, okay, we're not in love with Marchand, we're not in love with Stubbs, all this. They're at a point right now where they're stuck. And, I don't see a catcher being a top priority, especially when you have outfield bat.
Oh, I don't know that catcher's a top priority either. Well, I take that back.
A fit. I don't know if it's a fit.
I think the catcher is a priority. The problem is you have one that you don't want to, what would be the word?
Insult.
Insult, sure. And basically say we're gonna, and they haven't been very willing to admit mistakes early on in the moment. They'll admit the mistake at the last year of the contract, but not in the first year of the contract.
No, I mean, most of their mistakes have been the 1-year contracts, the Whit Merrifields and all.
Well, you had the Crawford, the Castellanos. Taiwan Walker.
Right. But that was, as you said, the 3rd year. The only time they don't.
You would have got rid of Taiwan Walker. You would have got rid of Taiwan Walker in the first or second year had you not had him signed for multiple years.
Probably. But that's all of baseball. Let's be real. I mean, how many?
Oh, I agree. Well, it's the same situation, Kevin, with Trey Turner. You watch him Monday night, and at some point you say, why can't we just come to terms with you're not the same level of shortstop? We are going to help this team by moving you to the outfield. Well, you can't do it in the middle of the year. He's a grown man who's good enough to play in professional baseball. If the ball goes in the air, I have a pretty good inclination that he's going to be able to catch it. But no, you can't move him in the middle of the season.
Well, and let's get to this point of it, Mike. Would you feel better with Trey Turner at second base and Bryson Stott at short?
Probably at this point. I mean, Stott's much better at second than he is at short, but at this time, he may be a better shortstop than Turner is. So are you flipping them and getting weaker at 2 spots?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that Stott could handle short. It's more of its natural position. Now he's adjusted at second pretty well,
Mhm.
but I think he's adjusted. I still think the natural talent will work at short. I think his arm works at short a lot better than Turner.
Yeah. No, I
And
think Turner at this point.
and I think Turner would be a better second baseman because I think one of the problems with Turner has been the arm, and the arm, it's a shorter throw. I hate saying it that way, but it's just that simple.
No, I agree. I feel, and he did play center field with Washington for about 50 games. So I'm not saying he has a ton of
If it's
experience
the
under his belt.
Mike, if it's the outfield, you're going to do that in the offseason. You're not
I,
doing
ag-
that.
I agree that they would not do it now. I'm just saying, do we really think that a grown man couldn't handle playing left field? It's not like he's never played the game before. He's been out there. Hey, man, go out there. You're going to play left field. If Edmundo Sosa could figure it out, now I'm not saying he's great, but I would imagine that Turner would be better than Sosa would be. And Sosa has been average out there.
Yeah, I get it. And you have Pat Burrow on left and Greg Luzinski, and that's the
And
argument.
Reese
everybody ever
Hoskins.
gives.
And by the way,
Reese Hoskins was pretty bad in left field. Let's be real.
he was pretty bad, but I'm saying you still stuck him out
Darren
there. By the way,
Dalton in right field may have been
right.
worse.
They went to a World Series with Kyle Schwarber playing left field. You're telling me that Trey Turner wouldn't be a better option to play left field than Kyle Schwarber was?
I'm not.
And
saying,
by the way,
I'm not
Nick
saying,
Castellanos.
But no, that's true. Mike, I'm just saying, to be honest, we could debate this whether he could or not. They're not going to.
I agree. I agree.
I think the more likely scenario is he goes him and Stott flip second and short.
Here's
For
something
the end of this year.
Here's something interesting, which I don't see happening either, but I would agree that that's probably a more realistic option than sending Turner to the outfield. If Rob Thompson were here last night, most likely, you probably would have hit for Hill in the 7th, who struck out, and you probably would have hit for Marsh in the 9th with a right-handed bat. Do we think they get back to doing that at some point? And did you think of that at all last night when those two spots in the order came up?
I'll be honest, it didn't cross my mind at the time. Now that you bring it up, I'm trying to remember the right-handed bats that were left on the bench at that point with Marsh. Yeah, when Marsh comes up, I don't.
Well, you had De La Cruz.
Yeah, you're going to throw him up that spot.
I'm just, he's a right-handed bat that you called up. He's got some MLB experience. Not like he's a nobody. I mean, he's not great. I'm not giving. I'm not saying that.
I think Don at that point is pretty much stuck in his ways with this is I want my best lineup out there as long as I can, and then I'll do the mix and match later on.
Because Hill came up in the 7th. I guess you could have hit Crawford there.
You could have.
Yeah. And then Marsh comes up. De La Cruz just gets called up here, so he could have been the option to hit in that spot.
That's a tough spot to put him in.
It is. Now, Scott,
that's a real
lefty hitters against Scott this year are hitting I don't know, what was the number that I saw earlier? 163 with a 345 OPS. Now, generally the Phillies with Rob have gone right up against the book. Whatever the book told them to do, they did. Now, we like the fact that they've gotten away from that a little bit, but that was a moment last night that I'm like, you got Marsh against a lefty here. Generally, they would have hit for him in that spot.
And over the course of 162, you can have nights where you go away from the book, and you can have nights where you stay with the book. And you're going to get these type of results. And Don got burned last night. I mean, but again, here's the other part I get on this, Mike. It's not like he has a ton of great options off the bench.
Oh, I agree. And one of your bench options was playing last night was Sosa.
And you could say Hill, too. I mean, if you want to go that far. Now, Hill makes a great defensive play in center field, and gets Ohtani at second. But, the problem they have is they play dumb sometimes. Their depth is too shallow. The lineup is too shallow. I mean, their everyday 8 is too shallow at this point. When you look at, outfield situation and all that, this is why I say they're doomed. I mean, maybe they get on run, maybe they win around because of Sanchez and Wheeler. They're not good enough to beat the Brewers. They're not fundamentally sound enough to beat the Brewers or the Cubs.
That's a great point that you're making, Kevin. Is everybody's looking at the Dodgers as a team, but if you get matched up with the Cubs, they got 3 left-handed starters.
Yeah.
Not conducive to victory.
And do the Brewers beat themselves? No. The Brewers don't beat themselves. That's part of the reason Pat Murphy should be coach of the year manager of the year every year. Because that team is so fundamentally sound.
So right now in a National League race, you're essentially looking at the team who's probably the 4th best of those teams.
I would go 5th. I would go behind the Braves even. If the Braves have pitching,
you're not. Yeah, you're right. You're not even. We haven't even put the Braves in that conversation.
No, I mean, and I think the one thing that the Braves pitching is not good, but if the Braves lose, the Braves are going to get outplayed. They're not going to beat themselves, and the Phillies are one of those teams that are going to beat themselves.
Couple things. Let's Kevin Cooney Substack. Check out his Substack. Search for him at Kevin Cooney on Twitter as well, and you can follow him along there. Brian De La Cruz is up. Do you think he is up because they are so desperate and they're hoping that he mitigates the necessity to trade for a right-handed bat?
What's the old saying? The stuff against the wall. You throw all the spaghetti against the wall before you commit to the meal and put it in dishes. Yeah,
yep.
That's what it is. Or, I'll give you the conspiracy theory one on this. They're trying to showcase him.
Brian De La Cruz?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, who else can you showcase?
If somebody calls you for Brian De La Cruz,
I'm trading him in a heartbeat. Yes.
Tell her be shocked, okay? That would be one question. It's like, okay, we need a right-handed bat. We can't get a good right-handed, or like we can't get Mike Trout. We can't get Byron Buxton, the Tyler Warrs, the Joe Adells. Maybe this guy's just as good as those guys. So that's why he's here. What do you make of McFarland? Because they haven't been able to get him into a game yet, and you need bullpen so bad. And you might say, could this kid save us a trade by using him?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they haven't been able to kind of put him into a spot yet, because he's a guy I thought would come up and maybe be a part of what they are, but maybe they're being cautious. And look, I don't see what the harm would be in putting him in at this point. I really don't. Do I want to see him as opposed to
Chase Sugared in a 10-4 game the other night?
Yeah, exactly. At this point, Jonathan Boland's been okay, but he's not really in that lead innings. He's not a guy for the lead inning spot in my mind for a playoff team. Yeah, why not try McFarland, see where it works? Now, again, are they doing this to kind of tease everybody who may be interested in somebody? Hey, we called this kid up. We called him right up. Flew him up here pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're interested. Is that something they're doing? Maybe is that
there was a lot of talk, Kevin, as to that's why he didn't get promoted to AAA, is because they wanted to keep having him dominate AA to showcase him.
And the fact that they move him up all the way to the majors, but they don't use him then, maybe that's a sign that, they're trying to say to teams, hey, maybe interested in this kid. You may be. Yeah. He's the great unknown.
Well, you need
I don't know if it's going to work, but
you need an 8th inning guy pretty bad right now. And I'm not saying that he's
you need a 7th inning guy too.
You need that too. But that's my point. You need a high leverage guy, but you really need a 7th inning guy. So if he can fill that role, that would mean you don't have to trade for 2 arms.
You could. And the other part is, look, Alvarado's looked better since they come out of the break here. And I know T-Mac did a whole thing last night about the numbers he's put up. Could he end up in that 8th inning role? Yeah. Am I going to ever feel comfortable with him at this point in an 8th inning role? No. But that's kind of where they are. They're stuck, Mike. They are stuck.
Yikes.
And I know that's alarmist and everything. Could they get on a run? Sure. And could everybody? But it's like, when I go play the Mega Millions, could I get the winning numbers? Sure. And I'm not talking to you then at that point. No offense. I'm going in the hiding at that point. But
wow.
Well, No offense. I don't need people coming to me for money if I just want Mega Millions. So,
Did you hear about this guy up in North Jersey who had been collecting the money from his coworkers and ended up winning the Mega Million and never told any of the other workers?
I always feared that when we did the group pools. I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, this guy was the guy who always did it. He actually won. I think it was like 40 million or something to that effect. And then he basically vanished and went and left, and all the other people never got their money. Well, they found out that he actually won the money, so they sued. And I think by the time they figured it out, he only had like $4 million left.
We the one time we did a Powerball among the Phillies beat, right? That we did a collection. Powerball was like one of them, like 400 million, 500 million.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, oh crap, if we win, I gotta
Who would
split
be
this
left to
among,
cover
like,
the team? Who would be left to
exactly.
cover the team?
And that means I have to be around these guys all the time because we have to share an annuity. I mean, come on.
Kevin Cooney, check out his Substack, the Cooney Report, and of course the Phillies tonight. They will take on the Dodgers. Aaron Nola, the Nola coaster tonight against another lefty, Eric Lauer. We'll get the start for the Dodgers tonight, and of course the Phillies take on the Dodgers, and then the Yankees coming up. So some interesting games there. Kevin, we'll catch up with you soon, man.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, LeBron. Since it's required that everybody has to say LeBron on a show, I have to say LeBron.
There you go. We've hit the quota.
We've hit the quota.
Take care.
Thanks,
Kevin
Mike.
Cooney, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to his Substack, The Cooney Report. Kevin Cooney on Substack. It's a really good read. He's got a full Eagles thoughts on the season and training camp. That's over on his Substack, Kevin Cooney. I get it right to my email box. You can do the same. It's easy to do. Just go to Substack or go to Kevin's Twitter handle if you like Kevin's thoughts on our show. I do, and I hope you do as well. This hour of the show brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907, online, broadleafs.net. They bring you the 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash. Hey, coming back to 97.3 ESPN, starting August the 3rd, the Golicks are back. Mike Golick Sr. and Mike Golick Jr. return to ESPN Radio on 97.3 to host the Golicks weekday mornings from 10 a.m. to noon, starting August the 3rd. You'll hear the Golicks back on 97.3 ESPN. Mike and Mike, if you will, return to 97.3 ESPN. All right, coming up, it is today's Phillies Fastball. We'll see what Geoff and Oscar thought about the play last night and what that play says about this team in the big picture of things. That and more. Plus, the text board is rocking and rolling, 609-403-0973. I see some people chiming in on the text board. Get your text messages in, 609-403-0973. Nuggets tonight at 5 o'clock. We'll do some Eagles as well. Geoff Mosher will join us for football at 4. Stick around. It's the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 3:29. The guys are here for today's Phillies Fastball. Oscar and Geoff. A interesting way the game ended last night. A 5-2-6-4 double play. First time a one-run game ended on a double play with at least 3 assists on the play since September of 2017. 5-2-6-4 double play. That's how it ends. What's the big picture meaning of that loss last night? Time for Phillies Fastball. Oscar Budish and Geoff Kerr are here. Brought to you by Ventnor Social. Don't forget, we'll be there a week from today with a live show, Phillies Day Game Watch Party, where one lucky winner is going on a trip to Baltimore to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Let's bring the guys in for today's Phillies Fastball. Oscar, you are shaking your head in disgust, it appears. Let's go to that blunder last night. I mean, what is the big picture of that particular play? I mean, obviously, it's a lapse in judgment. JT admits he makes a mistake. But does it say something bigger about this particular team?
And it's the Dodgers, guys. I mean, we lost last year to the Dodgers on a major blunder. It happens again. You cannot lose games like this. Big teams don't lose games. Don't throw away games like this. I mean, you had the opportunity to tie this game. Look, Crawford goes to home. JT goes to third. You cannot go back to second. I mean, it's like Little League, guys. I mean, JT, look, I'm sorry. JT cannot make that mistake. I mean, you've been a major leaguer for so long. I mean, I've coached Little Leagues 8 and 9 years old. I mean, and that's where you make those mistakes. I mean, you cannot make a mistake of that magnitude against the Dodgers. I mean, because now it becomes more of an issue, and the lack of fundamentals for the 2026 Phillies, which are the worst defensive team in baseball, continues to be a big issue for this team.
Geoff, we see.
So it's not Rob Thompson's fault, like everybody says it was.
Well, I was going to say, is this a coaching issue from the organization? I mean, this is something that Rob Thompson constantly got kind of ripped for, was the team was too aggressive on the bases. They weren't a good base running team. Last night, Mattingly said this was a play where they were off on contact, and it basically, he said we were gambling that you're not going to hit the ball to the one spot that they ended up hitting the ball to.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you can blame coaches all you want, and I think it's still lazy. It's players. Oscar just said it. There's no excuse for JT Realmuto to do what he did. And by the way, people are blaming Dusty Watton. They do know Dusty Watton is not the third base coach anymore, right?
Like,
this is ridiculous. How people are blaming the guy who's literally in the dugout. I've never seen anything. This just shows you how clueless people are when it comes to this stuff. And look, I'm going to also blame Brandon Mosher. You can't hit a fly ball to the outfield?
Just like,
Oscar, go ahead.
Yeah, well, listen, I would ask this question. I know Marsh has had a great year, and they have let him kind of hit, but that's a situation where they normally in the past would have hit for him, a lefty against a lefty, a very tough lefty who opponents, left-handed hitters are hitting 163 against. I know the Phillies have kind of got to this point where they don't want to do these platoons anymore, but you wonder as this long season keeps going on, is that a spot right there? Would you have rather seen a guy like De La Cruz get a chance?
He's in a slump. He's in a slump. Let's be very clear. Brandon March, the last 15 games, he's hitting 158 with a 475 OPS. Look, if he's slumping, this is not the time to get. Look, I'll go back again to why I started. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers, the team that you need to go out and beat every time you have the opportunity on. And they had their opportunity of the year there to beat that team, and they commit those mistakes. I agree with 100% with you, Geoff. Brandon Marsh, a ground ball to third base. You hit it everywhere else except third base. You score that run.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I thought it was interesting, and that's where I'll blame the coaching staff. That's where I'll blame Don Mattingly. I'm like, okay, but you just pointed out 158, Oscar. It's the number. It's a numbers game until you want to play the numbers game. That's what I don't understand.
Well, Derek Hill, by the way, also against right-handers has struggled. He is 209 against righties. He came up in the 7th inning, saw 3 pitches and struck out. You wonder if they should have hit for him. Now, listen, a lot of people don't like when you go with these straight platoons. Just let these guys play. And Marsh, has he earned the right by being an all-star and having a good first half that he gets to hit in that spot?
He has earned the right, but Look, I'll be the first guy to nitpick him against lefties because I keep telling people he can't hit against lefties. Like, this is what I love about the counter arguments here, right? So everybody would say, Brandon Marshall's hitting lefties this year. Okay. Yeah, he is hitting better against lefties. The OPS is still under 700, but then they want to go, well, Justin Crawford, the OPS is under 700. Well, no. You can't just change it the way you want to change it. No.
Yeah. By the way,
be consistent.
Marsh against lefties, he was hitting pretty well. Now that he's faced him a little bit more, he's down to 233 with a 266 on base, a 379 slug. And as you just pointed out, Geoff, his OPS against lefties is 645. You might have to revisit whether or not you could play him every day against lefties.
He's sitting today, isn't he?
The lineup has just been released.
I was going to say it just came out, right?
He is not in the lineup. And, of course, the lineup is brought to you by Chachi's 13th Floor. It is Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm. Sosa is playing left. Hill is playing center. De La Cruz is playing right. Stott and Marchand. That is your.
Anybody else think it's kind of funny how the three guys responsible for the botched play last night are not in the lineup?
Well, Crawford's out, right? Real Muto's out, and Marsh is out. Yes, that is interesting. Yes, maybe they aren't, because Mattingly said after the game, I'll have to talk to him, about that. He did kind of acknowledge. So
you know what? JT could have played every day this week if he wouldn't have played. I believe it was Sunday. So maybe this is the schedule. It's just coincidental to me.
I think he needs to talk to Wheeler before he goes in and talk to him, to be honest with you. I mean, after what he did last time. Let me make this, and I've been singing this choir for the last week. Take a look at the bench of the Dodgers. Tommy Edmonds, Kike Hernandez. I mean, Miguel Rojas, veteran guys that know how to play this game, that make contact, that help this team win games. Who do the Phillies have? Ryan De La Cruz. Rafael Marchand, and who else? And Derek Hill. That's our bench. I mean, come on, guys.
And you know what? The bench was worse. 2 months ago, before Derek Hill came, it was even worse than that. Oh, Gabriel Rincones, that's another one. Yeah,
you need to build this team to win championships. What you have right now is a team that desperately needs more flexibility and more.
And this is where I'm going to add
big games.
This is where I'll add to your point, Oscar. Dave Dombrowski made marginal moves in 2022, and it made this team better. Maybe that's the way to go. Marginal moves.
I've been telling you this for a while. I mean, we don't need the superstars of this world. I mean, we don't need look, I know everybody talks about Abel. I mean, how much is Abel hitting in it with? He has like a 668 OPS. I was watching the game a couple of days ago. I mean, I know the guy has power. Is that what we truly need? Or we need a veteran guy, like Castro, that is playing for the Colorado Rockies, that makes contact and provide you greater flexibility. This team needs greater flexibility if he wants to win a championship.
It's an interesting dynamic. They brought Brian De La Cruz up yesterday. He is in the lineup today, and we kind of talked about it. If he shows that he can play, does that say, okay, that's one thing off the checklist that we don't need to get, a right-handed bat? But are they trying to get themselves back to where they can find even guys to platoon? Because you got Rincones out there, you got Hill, but Hill's kind of platooning with Crawford. I would imagine they don't want to play Sosa every day because, like what you said, Oscar, they want to get Sosa back into the infield so they can help those guys out.
That's why De La Cruz is here, in my opinion. Everybody's like, Rincones getting sent down. Like, he ain't getting sent down. He's like, no. They like Rincones, and he's played well.
This is a different
I would
game,
ask you, though, Geoff. I would ask you, Geoff, though, can you play Gabriel Rincones in a playoff series?
No, you can't. This is just to get them through what they got to get. That's what I always thought his job was. His job was getting through 6 weeks. After that, all bets are off.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, whether he's played well, terrible, whatever, you can't put a rookie in there and say, who's struggling. I mean, he's been okay, but he hasn't really said, wow, look
honestly,
at this guy.
I think he's done his job, right? I mean, I had no expectations for him at all.
Well, put it this way. When they called up Johan Rojas in 2022, he had a far bigger impact than Rincones has given.
Honestly, the whole team changed because they moved Kyle Schwarber back to DH. Johan Rojas could be in center field. I mean,
I mean, look at the catches. Look at the catch he made.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Acuna's fly ball there in the outfield. He made a huge catch.
He won a playoff series that way. If he don't catch that ball, I don't think they win that series.
Well, and by the way, and now offensively in the playoffs, he was horrendous. However, in the regular season, I mean, he hit like almost, I think he hit three. He hit
304. He hit 304. Yeah, low on base percentage. And yeah, it was kind of like, it wasn't a real 304, but 304 is 304, right?
Hey, listen.
He helped his team.
With his speed, if he could get on base 30% of the time, he was a big factor.
And that was the issue. He went 4 for 48 in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was terrible in the playoffs.
And guys, Crawford, his speed is supposed to win us game. Look what happened yesterday. He needs to score with a double.
The problem was
with the double.
The problem was with that play, Oscar. I don't think he had big enough lead, and he should have just went.
I go back one play. I mean, JT Realmuto hits you a double. You need to score with your speed. You need to score. Period. That's it. That game should have been tied.
He doesn't take a big enough lead. I don't know why he doesn't. I would have to ask him that.
Well, there are guys who are fast runners, but not great base stealers. Right? I mean, just because you're fast doesn't mean you're a great base stealer. You're right, though, Oscar. You hit a ball in the corner, you got to go from first to home with his speed. Instead, he's gliding into third base as if, I'm pulling up here and that's it. There were so many things.
Contreras held him up. Did we ever get?
I mean, probably. My guess is probably you don't want to get the first out at home plate and in a situation like that. But maybe
they got the first out at home plate anyway.
Yeah, but maybe JT could have made it to third. Is that the case? It's just
correct.
I go back. The lack of fundamentals is killing this team. And guys, let's not go too far away. The defense is a big, big, big issue. We have the worst defensive team in baseball, and by a mile.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, this is why I would get upset with Trey Turner. They like to pin Trey Turner. It ain't just Trey. There's a lot of people on this team. Like you said, Oscar, it's everybody.
Absolutely. Harper. Look at Harper. I mean, look at the Harper between last year and this year. Even Stott. I mean, Stott that is having, I believe he has a gold glove type of a gold glove second baseman.
He's having a good year, but not the year he's normally had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, Turner, you're right. But he is also the shortstop, which is the most important of the positions on the field.
And center field, the middle. I mean, the middle is the key in baseball, and we don't have a good defensive team. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, nope. I mean, it's really weird if you know a ball's hit to Alec Boehm, he's very reliable there. Like, he might be the one that you know what you're getting there. You don't know.
And by the way, Schwarber and Harper has not had the last 2 days. Against
Schwarber, by the way, is in an 0 for he was 0 for 4. His 22-game streak of reaching base that got snapped last night. You're right; he is struggling big time there.
Oscar, you got to look this up too. They are not hitting runners in scoring position the entire month of July. I did after the All-Star. I think it's the entire month. They haven't been hitting.
Yeah.
Well, last night was one of those nights. You had the 10-7 game with the 5 homers, and then you knew what you were getting. What did we say yesterday? Take the under.
Take the under. We always say take the under around here. So that means they're going to score tonight. You know that.
I don't know. They got a lefty on the mound for the Dodgers, and you got Nola, so you're going to be down 5-0 in the second inning, most likely.
Yeah, that's where I agree with Vaughn. Yeah,
I'm not putting that one in the bank, by the way. Like yesterday, I mean, come on, guys. You cannot lose 2-1 to the Dodgers with a blunder like that. No way, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought they were going to win that game when Crawford had when Realmuto had the double. I thought they were going to win that game. I'm like, here it is. They're going to win another one-run game. They're going to take at least 2 or 3 from the Dodgers.
No doubt.
The season will not be over.
By the way, a really good team. You're down 2-1. You have second and third with less than 2 outs. A really good team wins that game.
Bond, do whatever you need to do. Win. You have to find a way. And this team lacks that.
Oscar and I talk about this all the time. And we'll tell anybody till we're blue in the face. They outplayed the Dodgers. They do. But the Dodgers do the little things right. And they didn't do the little things right last night either. But the Phillies seem to make one more mistake than they do.
And by the way, the Braves lost again yesterday. You could have been 2 games out of them. I mean,
you know what's crazy about this whole thing? They're like 500 in their last 10 games, and they've gained 3 games on the Marlins. The Marlins are in a free fall.
Yeah, Marlins are fading here. But, Oscar, for the people watching on YouTube, he was indicating why not a bunt. You got a lefty Marsh. Why not just push one down and see if you know what I mean with the speed?
You know why? Because we know they can't bunt. They can't bunt. I'm convinced.
I agree.
They can't do it.
All right, Phillies fastball. Phillies tonight. It is Lauer, a lefty, against Nola, a righty, for the Phillies. And, of course, Nola, he's been up and down. He's been okay his last couple starts here, but this is a much bigger task against the Dodgers. And then they will be taking on the Yankees. We're taking a look at that game right here on Phillies Fastball on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, boys. Well, we'll see if they can rebound after an ugly loss last night.
Go Phils, go Phils.
Tonight. It would be a big win tonight if they were.
It would be.
I mean, look, if you can find a way to go 3-3 against the Dodgers this year, I think that's a big win.
All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. There's Geoff and Oscar for today's Phillies Fastball here on the Sports Bass Live. It is the fastest Phillies conversation on the radio. We do it every day. A quick look at all things Phillies. And, of course, the Phillies, they lose 2-1 in that game last night. A really unfortunate way to lose the game. However, you got Nola tonight, and you got Lauer. We gave you the Phillies lineup. It is brought to you by Chachi's 13th Floor at Rafici's, coming soon to the White Horse Pike in Absecon. This is your chance to win a $100 gift card to Villa Rafici's by texting your name and where you are from. And if the Phillies score exactly 13 runs tonight, we will randomly select one of those people, and they will win a $100 gift card. If the Phillies do not score 13 runs, on Friday, if you entered, we will randomly select one winner for a $25 gift card to Villa Rafici's. That's Chachi's 13th Floor, coming soon to Villa Rafici's on the White Horse Pike in Absecon. Phillies line up tonight against the Dodgers. Turner leads off. Schwarber hits second. Harper hits third. Alec Boehm is in the 4-hole tonight. Yikes. Edmundo Sosa hits fifth. Derek Hill hits sixth. Ryan De La Cruz hits number 7. And Bryce Stott hits 8. And the catcher is Rafael Marchand. He hits 9th. And that is your Phillies lineup tonight. Brought to you by Chachi's 13th Floor at Rafici's. Coming soon to the White Horse Pike and Absecon. Text your name and where you're from right now, and you could be a winner of a $100 gift card to Villa Rafici's.
I don't think LeBron's only playing 1 year. I think he's playing multiple years, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be on the same team. I think there's a difference between chasing and chasing. Joining the Spurs. That's the team that's right there. What he's trying to do is chase a ring. I think the best case of chasing a ring would be Miami or Philadelphia. And then I think potentially, or I guess Denver and Minnesota, it doesn't seem like they're still alive. Or he could go and potentially try to chase a ring with Golden State. And who's to say he doesn't ultimately finish in Cleveland? And why does it have to be this year?
Evan Cohen said that this morning on Unsportsmanlike here on the Sports Pass Live 97.3 ESPN. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. So that point's very interesting. He said that on our show about a week or so ago, which was he doesn't think he's only going to play one more year, which means he can choose to play for a team this year and then go play for a different team next year. And I've heard other people opine that he could, in fact, play until he's like 45 years old. I heard Kendrick Perkins, who, of course, played with LeBron in Cleveland, talk about the fact that he thinks LeBron could play multiple seasons. So if that's the case, does he say, you know what? Philadelphia right now is the best shot. I'll go try to win a championship with them. If that doesn't work, I can go back to Cleveland or do something different. How will it all turn out? We don't know. But it's sure fun trying to figure it out, isn't it? The LeBron wash continues here on the Sports Pass. Don't forget, coming up, football at 4, and the Eagles will be on the practice field at this time next week. Here on the Sports Pass Live, we have them covered. 609-403-0973 on the text board. Mosher mailbag today. If you have Eagle questions you want to get in for the start of training camp, you can do that now at 609-403-0973 for the Mosher mailbag today. And don't forget, 609-403-0973. If you want to win that $100 gift card, text your name and where you're from. And if the Phillies score 13 runs tonight in the game exactly against the Dodgers, you can win $100 gift card to Villa Raffici's Chachi's 13th floor in Epstein. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Big screens, big bets, game day hits different at Ocean. To learn more, visit theoceanac.com. Don't forget, live entertainment this weekend. Matt Rife is at Ocean on Friday and on Saturday. You can check him out. Joey Diaz on Friday, August the 7th, and Sebastian Maniscalco September 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, plus the 24th, 25th, and 26th and 27th at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. We've got a plethora of mailbag questions for the Mosher mailbag segment today, which will lead us into 1 week to the Eagles getting at training camp. And if you have a Eagles question for the mailbag segment, we will have a couple mailbags left before training camp. Mosher's back on Monday. And then, of course, Wednesday he's here. They will be back on the practice field. So there will be plenty of things to discuss when that returns, the Eagles, I should say, when they return. 609-403-0973 if you want to get a mailbag question in for our Eagles Football at 4 segment today. We've had some Eagles questions throughout. One of the questions that we asked earlier on the show, I just wanted you guys to think about this. What happens if the offense struggles this year? What scenarios do you see as possibilities? I see 3 scenarios definitively. 1, the question goes, this is the question. What happens if the Eagles offense struggles again this year? 1, do they get rid of the coordinator again? I don't think I see that happening back-to-back years. 2, do they get rid of the head coach? 3, do they move on from the quarterback? Text in 609-403-0973. All right, Mosher is here. We got the mailbag ready to go. We got a ton of questions today. As people know that the mailbag season is running out because, Geoff Mosher, training camp season is almost here, which means they know they don't get to ask the questions anymore once the training camp session of the season gets here. What's up, man?
What's going on? How you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I'm cautiously ready for training camp. There's a lot of things. I got the football itch today. Today was like the first day when I was like, I got a little itch for football.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
you
good?
Getting that? All right. I like it. It's I will admit to you that when we do some of our content here in the dead period, it gets a little repetitive, and we look forward to actually having good things to talk, like, actual football things to discuss. So I can feel you.
I got you. Well, I gave the listeners an assignment for the mailbag today. They had to listen to ITB. They had to listen to the latest podcast. And then a lot of people ask questions from your latest podcast today. So I see I got at least 15 to 20 questions off the homework assignment here. So I'm going through my mailbag here of stuff. So are you ready for the Mosher mailbag Wednesday football at 4 today?
In the words of the great Bart Scott, can't wait.
Bart Scott got laid off yesterday, so easy on him. All right?
Oh man, I didn't realize that. Sorry about that. He's
still
still immortal for that.
Yeah, he will never not have that moment. This one's from Dave in Cherry Hill. He says, Geoff, you and Adam talked on ITB about Ty Robinson needing a big training camp after last year not producing much as a rookie. So, Geoff, what do you think about Ty Robinson in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really gauge anything he did as a rookie. He didn't play a whole lot. He played in the resting starters game against Washington in week 18, and he looked like he was a decent player at that point. But, you look at the position, and you've got a lot of guys ahead of you. You got Jordan Davis, you have Jalen Carter, you have Moro Jomo, and really he'll enter camp, Ty Robinson, even behind Byron Young, as the 5th defensive tackle. So he's a 4th-round pick from last year, and the odds are in his favor of making it. But the Eagles do have to keep they're going to go heavier at certain positions, I imagine, especially if they keep 4 quarterbacks, which has to work itself out, especially if they're going to keep 10 or 11 offensive linemen, which Howie Roseman has said he's desires to do. And in the secondary, they're going to keep some guys. So you can't keep everybody, as we always say. So Ty Robinson really does have to show this camp that he has improved from last year and that he would see some time in the rotation and be that interior pass rusher that the Eagles like from that position, or else he could face the consequence of being cut after his first year. We like to think that Howie will always favor his draft picks, and in many cases he does. However, he did cut Kyle McCord last year, a quarterback, right? 6th-round pick, but a quarterback. And I believe it was 2019 that the Eagles cut a 4th-round pick in his first year, and that was Sharif Miller, the defensive end out of Penn State. So this is his second year for Ty Robinson. And I think guys like he and Mac McWilliams really have to show that they've got some development in them.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Let's go to Mark in Delran. He wants to know, do you guys see anything from Keyshawn James newbie? Feels like he has some speed off the edge. Is he a guy that could surprise you, Geoff, in this defense this year?
Well, just like we talked with, and good question, Mark, like we talked about with Ty Robinson, there's so many guys ahead of Keyshawn James newbie that it doesn't matter how good he looks at camp. He's not going to – Vic already, we talk about all the time, likes a 3-man edge rotation, so he ain't going to crack the Jonathan Gennard, Jalix Hunt, and Nolan Smith Jr. rotation, and we're going to see if Vic can get out of his comfort zone a little bit to give Arnold Ebiketie some run in that rotation. But I do think that there is an avenue for Keyshawn James newbie with that speed that Mark mentioned, which I believe is like 4.3, 4.4, something ridiculous for an edge rusher of his size, right? To make the team as a special teams guy, because the Eagles have kept an extra edge, not to play defense, but to be on special teams. It's been Patrick Johnson. It's been Kyron Johnson from a couple of years ago. So yeah, the opportunity is there. But I can't imagine he's making any kind of impact on the defense unless they have a rash of injuries.
All right, this one's coming all the way from Westchester, home of the former Eagles training camp. Brian must be down the shore vacationing from Westchester. Says, Geoff, Jacory and Bennett, Mac McWilliams both highlighted as bubble guys in the secondary, with Vic Fangio wanting versatile, smart defensive backs who could cross-train. Which of these younger corners has the best shot to adapt to Fangio's scheme? Now, they traded for Bennett last year. They drafted Mac McWilliams, 2 guys that they actually went out of their way to target here.
Yeah, I mean, both of them potentially could have some versatility. Mac McWilliams, we know, is a guy who can play inside or outside. He has really good speed. He has speed for the outside, but size, or height, I should say, for the inside. But he's also a strong guy. And Adam and I talked about maybe there's an opportunity for him to get some looks at safety as that big nickel safety that they're auditioning for between Marcus Epps and Michael Carter II. Maybe Mac McWilliams can get himself into that conversation and really appeal to Vic by being able to play 3 different positions. Jacory and Bennett, he has inside-out versatility. I can't see him at all as a hybrid, safety the way maybe Mac McWilliams. And honestly, they're both facing an uphill battle to make the team, but more so Jacory. And they traded for him, but they didn't give up a whole lot. And now he's stuck in a crowded corner room that's got Reek Woolen, it's got Quinyon Mitchell, it's got, the guy Mac McWilliams we just brought up, it's got Keely Ringo still, it's got who's the veteran whose name is escaping me right now? Jonathan Jones, right? Jonathan Jones, who I think is going to make it as the number 1 corner off the bench. So the reality is Jacory and Bennett's facing a real uphill battle to make the team. McWilliams also, but at least McWilliams is a second-year drafted player who they might want to give more time to develop at different positions.
All right. Appreciate you, Brian, from Westchester, PA, down the shore, I'm assuming anyway. Football 4, Kevin from Atlantic City on ITB. Adam mentioned Cole Wisniewski as a potential 4th safety, but he noted that there are questions at the position. How concerned do you think the coaching staff is with the safety depth? I don't think
Good.
I was going to say, because Makuba was hurt last year. I think that the concern might be whether or not he can get through a season, and what if he doesn't?
Yeah, I think that there's an overall curiosity. I'll say curiosity over concern. If there was a concern, I think that there would have been more done this offseason. Right now, it's a curiosity because as long as Makuba stays healthy and Cooper DeJean is playing safety in base defense, which could be 25, 30, 35% more potentially, then they're all right, and as long as they like what they see from Marcus Epps and Michael Carter Jr., or the second, they should be okay too. And if they need a body, they can always trade, they can add. Your concern is when you don't have a starter, right? Or if you've got a struggling defense and that's going to contribute to it. They have a lot of really good pieces all around. So if Makuba is healthy and DeJean is healthy and has adapted fine, then I don't think it's a concern. But I do think I call it a curiosity because I know the coaches are going to look at how this competition plays out. They're going to look at Michael Carter II. They're going to look at Makuba. They're going to look at Wisniewski. They're going to take a look at this kid, Maximus Pulley, who's a rookie free agent, who was like a playmaker at Wofford in college, like 5-6 interceptions. He's got some skills, man. He'll be a guy that might be one of those training camp darlings. They're going to look at everything.
What was his name again?
Maximus Pulley, Pulley.
That's a first on this show, I believe. I don't know that we've heard his name yet.
I'm surprised because Adam's really bullish on this guy. He might have probably mentioned it once or twice along the way, just when we were talking about after the draft.
I'm surprised that's not an Andrew, like 7th round undrafted gem right there.
Yeah, well, he is certainly someone to watch. And because of the questions that we just talked about, I suppose he could make it if he really performs well. There's still Andre Sam. So that's the curiosity. Do the coaches feel comfortable with what they have 2 to 3 weeks into camp? Or do they have a lot of injuries? Or do they have lack of performance and feel like they need to make a move? And that's when they knock on Howie's door.
All right, this one is Chris is listening on the beach in Wildwood today. How much freedom does the coaching staff actually have to tweak game plans week to week, or is Nick micromanagement style set in stone?
Oh, I am jealous of Chris sitting on the beach in Wildwood. It is sitting on a beach in Wildwood that you would come up with that kind of a really open-ended question of Nick and how much micromanaging he does. Look, it's happened on offense. We know that. And I wouldn't say that that's his interference. I think that more so when things weren't working, it was, we need to default to the things that really worked, which is running the ball and stop, back in the Kellen Moore days. Let's not have all this crazy motion and misdirection. But if there's one thing that we've said constantly throughout this offseason, is that you don't hire Sean Mannion, as a first-time play caller, knowing that you failed with 2 first-time play callers before that, if you don't really plan to stick to the plan of introducing this new offensive design and scheme and sticking to it. So, I think it's a great question because Nick Sirianni's job is always going to be on the line. And what happens if 6 or 7 weeks into the season, the offense still is clunky because it just hasn't taken yet? Are they patient or do they crumble it all up and throw in the trash can? I don't think they do B. I think that they're going to have to exercise patience, and Nick is going to have to let the process see itself out. Whether or not he's patient enough to do that remains to be seen.
This one's coming from a Delaware listener. How about that there? A Delaware ITB Football at 4 listener. It's Greg over there in Delaware. He wants to know, Geoff, where do you think the weakness of the defense is?
Hey, Greg. I think it's in that safety spot. There's no question. Just the overall depth. It's not a question about talent when you have Makuba and DeJean there for a lot of your snaps, but it is fair to say DeJean's not played safety. He did not play safety at Iowa. He went there maybe as one, transferred over. He was mostly a corner. Everybody said he had the safety versatility, and he did play some nickel. He probably lined up at safety in certain packages, but he was not a safety. So this will be his first real go-around as an NFL safety. And Makuba is a guy who's 169 pounds, right? So although he plays big, we already saw him get injured last year, and you want to see him stay healthy. As long as those 2 guys are healthy, I'm not as concerned about it, Mike, because I think it's a very talented defense all around. But surely if there's not great depth there and any kind of hurt or lack of performance for those two guys could threaten the Eagles at that position.
Well, a lot of people have asked the question whether or not they think this defense will be better than last year. Is it more talented than last year?
That's a tough one, because really what you're saying is Grenard an upgrade over Jalen Phillips? I think it's about the same. I think Phillips is a little bit more of a two-way defensive end, but Grenard's pretty good. I would say Reek Woolen is an upgrade over Adoree Jackson, though. And it's going to change what Vic Fangio can do schematically. I think it was nice to watch Quinyon Mitchell shadow other wide receivers, right? But I don't think Vic will have to do that as much this year, which means you don't think it's a liability to have Reek Woolen up against certain guys. And then you were less predictable. And then it comes down to what I would say is the difference between having Nakobe Dean's, just his cerebral play, his instinctiveness, his leadership, versus Jihad Campbell, who is 10 times the athlete than Nakobe Dean is. Where is the trade-off? Is it better or is it worse? But everybody else is basically going to be in the same spot.
You do have Blankenship not here, and I guess how that
DeJean, right? So you have DeJean, so that could be an upgrade athletic. It could be an upgrade, right? A better, more talented player. When DeJean goes into nickel, and then they bring in another safety, then you have to weigh the Epps or Michael Carter or whoever versus what Blankenship gave, for sure.
Thanks, Greg in Delaware. Let's go to Todd in Vineland. Mosher, what's one realistic change in the offensive philosophy you expect to actually see on the field this summer versus what is camp hype?
Yeah, great question. That was Greg, you said? No, I'm sorry, Todd?
Todd in Vineland.
Todd. All right. I love this question.
In Vineland this weekend. I was in Vineland this weekend.
Intentionally? Just kidding, Vineland. I'm just kidding. I've actually been to Vineland 3 times in the last. So no, it's my
buddy who lives in Vineland told me asked me if I got my passport stamped when I went out there.
Oh man, that's rough. I was annoyed because there's apparently a very good sandwich shop, a burger shop called Outlaws in Vineland, and we went and I was there on a Sunday and they were not open. And I thought to myself, what kind of sandwich shop is not open on a Sunday? That's that's a good food service day, Saturday and Sunday. But I digress. Love Vineland. But anyway, the spirit of the question is because Adam and I always talk about throwing to the running back, how we see it all the time in training camp. And then the season starts and it's bogus. It never happens. Like Saquon Barkley catches maybe 1 or 2 passes a game, right? So I get it. I think one thing that will be undeniable about the offense this year, and not just a training camp thing, is going under center, lining up with multiple tight ends, running from under center, and then running play action from under center. The Eagles were among the lowest percentage under center play action teams in the NFL, both last year and then so far in the Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts era. Sirianni Hurts era. I think there will be a drastic change with those percentages this year, and I don't think that that's something that they're going to stop doing after training camp because maybe they don't like what they see or it's taking too much time. That is a staple of what this offense should look like and have.
All right, we'll get one more in here from Sean in Seattle City. What's up, Sean? Who is one under-the-radar player on defense who's not getting talked about right now? Is it Malcolm Pulley? What was that guy's name?
Maximus Pulley. That is, I guess I already played my
name in high school was Maximilian.
It's a great name. I like Maximus and Maximilian. A guy that we into other than Maximus Pulley might be Michael Carter the second. I think a lot of people think that Marcus Epps, because Vic was very praiseworthy of him, is going to win that third safety job. I'm not so sure of that. And I would say maybe Arnold Ebiketie. You know what?
Okay.
So here's the thing. Vic likes a 3-man edge rotation. So it's going to be to start camp, right? It's going to be Grenard, it's going to be Jalix Hunt, and it's going to be Nolan Smith Jr. Yeah. Well, Nolan's not had a great offseason. He had the arrest and all that. He was kind of a flash player last year who had the injury, missed 4 weeks. And Ebiketie has also been a flash player. So what if Ebiketti's flashing more during camp than Nolan Smith? Does he get himself ahead of Nolan Smith in the rotation? I don't know. I'm just very curious because this is a player the Eagles liked coming out of Penn State a couple of years ago. They brought him in for a visit. Remember, he started off at Temple, how he liked him, how he finally got a chance to sign him, and he did. So that's a player that I'll have my eyes on.
I like that. And if Ebiketie can actually give you more than what Uche and Ojulari gave you last year, I mean, that would be a positive.
The key to me is, does he show enough to get Vic to expand his rotation? Because if he does, and Vic does that, that's a feather in the cap. Because Vic's pretty fickle about his 3-man edge rotation. At least he has been throughout his career and here with the Eagles. To the point where Uche, who we all thought like played fairly okay, like as a rotational edge last year, he was doing fine. And once they got Jalen Phillips, Uche went straight to the bench. Like, you're not getting on the field.
Yeah.
So that's how much of a stickler Vic is. But if Ebiketie can carve out a role and make Vic come out of his comfort zone, I think that's a really nice.
What he get? He got like decent $4 million,
yeah,
right?
He got $4 million guaranteed, 7 overall, 4 guaranteed, which is more than anybody got last year, more than Uche or Ojulari got. So, Howie Roseman pays that kind of guaranteed money. He wants to see a guy play, especially if he's doing well.
Well, we'll see how it all unfolds this time next week. They will be on the field, and it will begin. Eagles training camp, football at 4, Inside the Birds. We got you covered right here on Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. That was a Mosher mailbag. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show and asking the questions. I hope you enjoyed the answers. Geoff, get back on the beach in Wildwood.
I wish I was, my friend. Take
Greg
care.
in Wildwood, enjoy the beach. Mosher, enjoy the time off.
Thanks to everybody for all the questions.
As always, we appreciate everybody for sending in the questions. It is very helpful during the summer of Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, Football at 4 is back tomorrow. We will continue our division previews. Here into the AFC South play this year. Those 4 teams. Little Wildwood days. I was in Wildwood a couple times. We're at Urie's. We'll be back at Urie's on August the 12th for another day game watch party. So make an appointment to be out there with us. Don't forget, Sunday Night Baseball is Phillies and Yankees this week. That means we've got the Phillies on 97.3 ESPN. If you ever want to get a question for the mailbag, text board, email, Twitter X, you know how to get in touch with me. No Nuggets until 5 o'clock tonight. So Nuggets at 5 o'clock. When we come back, text board has been open all day. We'll dive into that for the first time. 609-403-0973. Stick around. More Sports Bash coming up. All right, 4:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. This hour of the show. It's brought to you by our friends at Maynard's in Margate, who are celebrating 60 years. Cheers to 60 years. Join the party August 2nd. Live music starts at 2. Drink specials all day long. Your chance to win birds and concert tickets. Cheers to 60 years. Maynard's in Margate. Thanks to Mosher for the football at 4. We got the Nuggets coming up in a half an hour today. 609-403-0973. If you have something you want to get in on the White Horse RV text board, we opened up the text board. We'll answer your questions. John in Avalon, if another quarterback goes down and a Teddy Bridgewater from the past and another team comes knocking on the door, who would the Eagles be willing to trade, Andy Dalton or Tanner McKee? He says, I would trade Dalton myself. I don't think that so you're saying if another team lost their quarterback, like a couple of years ago when the Eagles were able to trade Sam Bradford to Minnesota because the quarterback there got hurt, I think the Eagles would be willing to trade either one of them. I don't think it really matters. Whatever one they got, better value for. If they thought they can get a second or third round pick for Tanner McKee would be gone. If they thought they could get, I don't think you thought, what'd they give up to get Andy Dalton? Not much, 6th, 7th round pick. So I think they would be more willing to move McKee because they would get more back in return for him. I don't think they care who would be the backup quarterback, McKee or Dalton. It's who could they get more for. And I think they could get more for Tanner McKee. So if another team's starting quarterback goes down, John, you're saying you would trade Dalton. I don't think the Eagles care. I don't think they really think Tanner McKee is anything more than what he is. And I don't think they think Andy Dalton's anything more than a journeyman backup at this stage of his career either. So if another team, a team to keep an eye on is like Arizona. Jacoby Brissett, the contract situation is not really settled out there, and he's the starter right now. He's not a great starting quarterback, by the way. That would be a team to kind of keep an eye on. If you have battles at certain places, the Falcons quarterback, I don't think that you got Tua versus Michael Penix Jr., but maybe the loser of that battle gets traded, and then they look to try to get something for one of those guys. I doubt it. I don't see that. I think that's the only quarterback battle they really even have in the league. But maybe a team like the Giants who want to maybe get a better back. Actually, they have Jameson Winston. So a team that has a weak quarterback or a quarterback who has been injury prone, maybe you want to better your backup quarterback situation. That's another area that the teams can say, hey, let's call Philadelphia because they have two guys. And I don't know what happens with both those guys, but I think they would be fine trading Tanner McKee. I don't think they have any problem with that. I myself have not been very impressed with Tanner McKee. I know that's like sacrilegious to say almost. Like, how dare I not think Tanner McKee is actually any good? I actually saw him play live in a game and thought he was terrible. And last year I thought he was awful in the game against, was that Washington that he played? I thought he was terrible in the game. And people just fell in love with him because he had a good first half against the Giants in that game a couple of years ago. I thought he stunk, McKee. So I have zero problem if the Eagles. No, listen, I don't think the Eagles have any offers for McKee. I don't think they have any calls at all for Tanner McKee worth of anything of substance. 609-403-0973. Keep the text messages coming in. We'll continue to answer. I look, the two teams for a backup quarterback that I see, I gave you Arizona as one, and Arizona's quarterback situation at this stage is pretty weak. You've got Jacoby Brissett, as we mentioned. Even if, Jacoby Brissett's okay, nothing special. I don't think Tanner McKee's better than Jacoby Brissett. I think McKee stinks, to be honest with you. And they have, by the way, Gardner Minshew and Carson Beck. So I think I'm I wouldn't be, if I'm them, I'm not giving up anything of value for Tanner McKee, for God's sakes. Who else is a team? We talked about this before. The Saints, they got Shook as the quarterback with Spencer Rattler and Zach Wilson. If there was a team that would be willing to take a shot on Tanner McKee, you would think it was Kellen Moore. But I think Kellen Moore sees what I see, a guy who stinks. So he don't want Tanner McKee either. So I don't think that's a realistic possibility. Man, I'm trying to think of a team that would make any sense. How about who needs a quarterback to back up their starter? Maybe Jacksonville. They got Trevor Lawrence. The backup there is who? Mullins. Do you think that McKee's better than Mullins? Half a dozen, one. Again, I'm not giving anything of value up. I don't think he's any better than what I already have. So probably not. Where else? How about, Pittsburgh, you've got Aaron Rodgers, backup Mason Rudolph. Probably not interested in trading McKee for upgrading over Rudolph, even though I don't think Rudolph is anything special. You got Seattle. Drew Lock is the backup there. He's nothing special either, but am I giving up anything? Again, McKee stinks. That ain't good. So I'll to answer that guy's question a couple times, I don't think that there's much value in McKee. So I think the Eagles think they could probably get more for McKee than they could Dalton's my point. Like for Dalton, I think the 7th rounder, whatever they gave up, 6th, 7th rounder. I think for McKee, the Eagles are holding out hope that they can get a little bit more than that. But I don't think so. I wouldn't think that's coming down the pipeline here. 609-403-0973. What else we got here? Mike, regardless of assessing the blame, how about a sacrifice bunt to tie the game and go from there? Marsh can lay down a bunt. Guess that's the ghost of past times. Yeah, I don't know. We always ask guys to bunt. They can't bunt. These guys can't bunt. They stink at it. Although I don't hate the play. Marsh, the bigger question is, and I think you're starting to see a little bit of this, Marsh is not in the lineup tonight. Marsh is not in the lineup tonight against a left-handed pitcher. So keep that in mind. Marsh is also beginning to struggle a lot against left-handed pitching. I think that's a question that needs to be reevaluated. And I'll be the first to tell you, I have not really bought into Marsh playing every day. I know in the first half of the season, he made me look bad on that. That said, I don't think Brandon Marsh could hit left-handed pitching consistently every day all season long. Sorry, his sample size is pretty big. And he's had a great year this year. To say, for the first half of the season, he has proven you wrong. But for his career, I'm winning that argument. And I'm starting to win that argument in 2026. Against left-handers, Marsh is hitting .233 with a 2.6. He doesn't have one metric against lefties that say, I want to see you play against lefties. Not one. I don't want to see Brandon Marsh face lefties. I don't care if he has 3 homers this year. Great. He's improved mildly. You know what Brandon Marsh's career numbers against lefties are? Seriously. Does anybody have an idea what they are? They're horrible. So, yeah, he's been better against lefties this year. But he's been horrible. So he's basically gone from horrible in his career to really bad. And for the most part, I think the Phillies need to start evaluating that as well. That's another problem. Because if you go into a playoff series against the Dodgers and Robleski pitched like he did last night, you really going to tell me you want Brandon Marsh up there hitting? You face the Cubs. They have 3 left-handed pitchers. You telling me, seriously, be honest with yourselves. You really want Brandon Marsh face 3 lefties in a row? Bang, 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 3 days in a row? I don't. And I hate to say it because he's having a great year. But in reality, he's not having a great year against lefties. And his career against lefties, he hits 217. So this year against lefties, he's hitting 233, which is better than his career numbers, but not good. His on-base percentage against lefties this year is 266. His on-base percentage against lefties in his career is 276. So he's actually got a better career on-base percentage against lefties than he does this year. His slugging percentage against lefties this year is 379, and in his career it's 317. So his slugging percentage this year is better than his career numbers against lefties. His OPS in his career is 594. Right now it's at 645. That thing is slipping precipitously. He has struck out 41 times this year against lefties in 103 at-bats. Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here. He can't face lefties. He was having a great first half of the year. He made the All-Star game. Awesome. He's hitting 290 now. He was at 330 not long ago. In Brandon Marsh's last 28 days, 213, 271 on base, 393 slug, 664 OPS. In his last 2 weeks, 10 games, small sample size, 10 games, but you're starting to see 158, 238 on base, 237 slug, and a 475 OPS. He has struck out 13 times in the last 10 games over the last 14 days. He struck out 30 times in the last 23 games. I don't know about you. I don't think any of those numbers are exciting. That's just me. So I think we all have to come to terms with, hey, maybe they got all they could out of Marsh in the first half of the season, and you can't count on that in the second half of the season. Now, his numbers for the season, he's at 290, very good. In today's game, 290 is very good. His on-base percentage is 328. That's not great. That's not very good. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not, wow. I definitely, and then let's see. You've got Marsh this season. His slug is 476. Nothing special. And his on-base, his OPS is 804. That's solid. So, but his OPS against right-handed pitching is 868, which is very good. So, I mean, to me, I think it's pretty clear what Brandon Marsh is. He is a platoon player. I think we got a little greedy in the first half with what he was. And all these people, see, you got to play him against lefties and give him a shot. I don't want to see that shot. I do not want to see. I mean, they gave him the opportunity. I was fine with them giving him the opportunity. I don't want to see that opportunity any further. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And, of course, you can watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. As we've said many times, there's a reason the Phillies platooned, not because they wanted to, because the numbers suggested they should. And people would say, how do you hit lefties if you never get the chance to? Many of these guys have been given the chance. Marsh has faced left-handed pitchers in 350 games, 583 at-bats. 583 at-bats is the equivalent of like a full season. A regular guy would get about 600 at-bats. So 583 at-bats is like one full season. Now, you would say, okay, one full season. The numbers against lefties for one full season are terrible. 217 is not good. A 276 on-base percentage is not good. A 317 slug is not good. Like, for instance, if you're looking at an on-base percentage, his on-base percentage, and that's the number a lot of people look at for an over batting average now. His on-base percentage is 276 lifetime. against lefties. Anything under 300 would be deemed poor. He's at 276. Anything between like 3 and 315 is below average. The league average player is between 315 and 335, somewhere in that range. You would say, oh, okay, he's okay. If you're an above average player, you're a 335 to 359. So even Brandon Marsh overall this year is at 328, which would put him at the league average. So even the season that he has been having, it's only league average, not above average, just league average. Just keep that in mind. That's all. That's all I say. That's all I'm preaching to you today. Don Mattingly did say that the Phillies will not skip the 5th spot in the rotation. He said, but no starter has been announced yet. I don't know what to think of that. Like, do you just do a bullpen game? I hate a bullpen game. I absolutely hate a bullpen game, especially when you have a lousy bullpen. You are taxing the bullpen that's already not that good. So I don't like the bullpen game. Some people have suggested that the Phillies have a guy named, is it Brian Keller, who I got to be honest, I don't even know him and have never heard of him and had no idea there was a guy named Brian Keller in their system. So he would be complete news to me. Okay. You got Alan Rangel. I can't imagine that he's going to be called back up again. So I think they're probably done with him, and now they're on to the next guy. Who would that next guy be? Right? Who would that next guy be? I don't think that the Phillies have a trick up their sleeve like they did the other. I say a trick up their sleeve. Brian De La Cruz, they had in the system. He has been a major leaguer. So they said, hey, we can go get a right-handed bat, put him in the outfield. Boom. That's fine. I have no problem with you doing that. They don't have that type of pitcher in this system. Those guys are gone. They had Bryce Wilson. He's gone. They had Alan Rangel. They've used him. He's got pounded. Now you're on to the next group of guys. Like if you were to go look at the Lehigh roster right now, let's look at the Lehigh roster real quick. You have really, really no pitching depth. So the pitchers, okay, I take that back. There's one guy that you could possibly, and I'd have to see how he's doing, is Kobe Allard. If you remember Kobe Allard, he is a left-hander that they signed. He had been a guy. Now he's not on the 40-man, so he's down there. He would be one. I guess Brian Keller, they're saying he's an option, but he's not on the 40-man either. Michael Mercado is another guy who's pitched at the big league level a handful of times. I don't see another guy on this roster that's a starting pitcher. Now, I don't know how Kobe Allard has done at AAA so far. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Okay. So far at AAA for Lehigh, Allard has pitched 13 games. He is 2-2 with a 5.40 ERA. In 56 innings, he has 52 strikeouts. His whip is 127. That's not terrible. The whip is okay. The ERA is not good. So I guess you could say he has a shot to be the guy that gets called up. Now, I don't know when he last pitched, so I'd have to see when he – let's see. When was the last time he pitched? What's today? Wednesday. Up, but that could be he would be one guy, I guess, that would be somewhat a possibility. The last time he pitched was, it looks like today. So could he pitch Wednesday, Thursday? No, he could not pitch on Saturday. He threw today. He threw 6 innings, gave up 1 run. That would have been helpful. Could have used him today. Right? Hey, why not Kobe Allard? So that's what you have. You're in a situation where you don't have any depth. And now Mattingly's coming out and he's basically saying that they're not going to skip that spot over, but he hasn't said who's going to sign. So that means somebody's going to pitch in that spot. And it could possibly be a bullpen game, which I would not endorse. 609-403-0973. We gave you the Phillies lineup today. We'll give it to you one more time and give you a chance to get involved with the Chachi's 13th floor. The Phillies lineup, as always, each and every day is brought to you by Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's, coming soon to the White Horse Pike in Absecon. This is your chance to win a $100 gift card to Villa Rafici's. Text your name and where you're from. And if the Phillies score exactly 13 runs in the game tonight, we will randomly select one winner for a $100 gift card. And if the Phillies don't score 13 runs in the game tonight, don't worry. We will still select one winner from all the people who texted in all week long to win a $25 gift card to Villa Rafici's. Brought to you by Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's, coming soon to the White Horse Pike in Absecon. So your lineup tonight, and interestingly enough, we just had this discussion about Brandon Marsh, a left-handed pitcher tonight. He is not in the lineup. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Stotts in left, Hill is in center, De La Cruz is in right, Stott and Marchand. So the three guys involved in the last play last night, Marsh, who hit the ball and should have been on second base, Real Muto, who made the final out of the game and should have been on third base, and Crawford, who got tugged out in a rundown. All three of them are not in the lineup tonight. Now, is that coincidental? Or do you guys think there's a message being sent there? The message for me is, one, you do not win in October playing the way you did last night with those mistakes. Two, I don't have a problem that Brandon Marsh is not playing against a left-handed pitcher, and I think that should be the norm. Unpopular opinion? Possibly. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. Just after 5 on the Sports Fast Wednesday. No Dave Gallagher today. He'll be back next week. He is down in Florida working with some of the MLB hopefuls, and he'll be back telling us more about his experience. I would have loved to have him on today to talk about that base running mistake last night. It's not a mistake. It's a complete and utter blunder by one man, JT Realmuto. Now, he admitted it. He said it. I had a lapse in judgment. Part of the lapse in judgment, though, was because the players were instructed to go on contact. So he went. Now, he went. The problem is he should have stayed where he went and then not gone back. We got a Nuggets edition at 5 o'clock on the drive home for you tonight. Nick Earnshaw is here with today's Nuggets, a little later Nuggets than normal, but we got the Nuggets for you here on the Sports Bash Wednesday. What's going on, Nick?
What's up, Mike? Yeah, I've been chopping at the bit to talk about that last night. That is one of the most egregious base running blunders I think we have ever seen in the history of baseball. That was egregious by JT Realmuto. I understand, he needs to go on contact. I get that. He would have been fine at third base. Crawford was a dead duck. So I'm not putting it all on Crawford because Crawford was told on contact, go. He was a dead duck. JT, he's done. Just stay at third base. Why are you running all the way back to second base? He's not coming back. See, this is the problem. That reminded me of the series in the NLDS last year. Because there was the Castellanos mistakes, etc., on the base pass. And this is a team that continues to lack the fundamentals in big moments. This was Groundhog Day against the Los Angeles Dodgers last night, Mike. This is something that can't happen, and this is why they have not won a World Series, because of simple mistakes like that, and that costs you in a series against the Dodgers, against teams like, if you go to a World Series like the Astros, et cetera, years ago. Like those simple mistakes, the bat's not working, et cetera, that's what happens. You're going to lose tight baseball games, a great pitching performance last night, and boom, they lose because of a dumb mistake like that, and the bat's going cold. And it's been the same story year after year after year. That's just what happens to this team.
A lot of things on that one. Obviously Crawford, I think we talked about this in the second hour with Kevin Cooney, and I thought he brought up a lot of cool points here. One, Bohm gets the single. He's on base. You pinch run for Bohm. Now you have Crawford in the game. You got to have him moving. All right. He's got to score on a ball hitting to the corner from first base. He goes from first to third. He's pulling up into third base. He's the fastest guy you got. He's got to be more aggressive base runner in that spot. Instead, he's pulling up going into third base. So now he's on third. You got JT on second and third with one out. Now you got Brandon Marsh up. I think we got to talk about Brandon Marsh here. Listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. He can't hit lefties. It was cute for a couple of weeks there when he hit lefties and was an all-star, and that was an awesome moment for him. But you really think you're going to go to win a World Series with him in there facing left-handed pitchers? Get the hell out of here. He can't hit lefties. In that spot right there against Tanner Scott, lefties are hitting 163 against Tanner Scott. You got him hitting in the 7th spot in the order. You really think that anybody in their right mind wants to have him go up there with that miserable at bat? You have one job. Don't hit the ball to the third baseman. And if he hits it to any other human being on the field, they would have scored that run last night. It was the one spot on the field you can't hit the ball to, and he couldn't get that right. I don't need a good story of Marsh coming around hitting lefties because he can't. So guess what? Get him out of there against left-handers because he can't hit lefties. Number 3, Crawford's told to go on contact. So he does. The problem is he stops, and now he gets caught in a rundown. If he just goes, JT goes to third, and we live to fight another day. Yeah. Lamar should have been on second base. And then you have second and third with 2 outs. Instead, guy stops, JT goes to third. Now he sees the rundown, so now he goes back. And then you get 2 guys out. It was a total disaster. Kevin Cooney said it was the dumbest baseball play he has seen in his entire career.
I agree with him. I've never seen anything like that before. And I think you bring up the great point of Marsh being on second base. I wonder if JT sees Marsh on second, Does it refrain him and stop him, or do you think he's just not even thinking? He just goes. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's another good point. It's another good point, though. If Marsh is doing what he should be doing, which is he sees the run down there, so now he takes the extra base. If he's doing that, yes, you're now in a situation where JT doesn't have any, any other place to go but third base.
I don't know where the baseball instincts have gone in some of the current players of today's game. Sometimes they're just not there. It's been especially prevalent with the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't understand.
By the way, is Don Mattingly moments ago. I don't know if he heard me earlier talking about this, but he was asked about if he's thinking about sitting Marsh against lefties again. Here's what he said earlier today. All right, so there's Don Mattingly. He said, it's something I'm thinking about and I'm looking at because obviously the numbers against lefties have not been great. He said, I like some of his at-bats early, but that seems to have been a battle. So he is acknowledging now that I might have to do something against lefties here.
Yeah, I think you might have to. And last night, it was just a culmination of what this team does every year. And it just seems like to me, and you could go get out and get an upgrade in the outfield, another right-handed bat, fine. I just don't know if this team's good enough. I just don't know. And those are the situations, games like that are what worry me about this team in the postseason.
Should. I mean, listen, everything in that play, and by the way, the three guys involved in that play last night, they're all out of the lineup today. Marsh is out of the lineup. Real Muto's out of the lineup, and Crawford's out of the lineup. Now, I think it has to do with the left-handed pitcher, Mark Crawford. But guess what? I'm glad that Don Mattingly is saying this. And again, I talked about this before. Thompson got killed for all this stuff, and I don't think it was a lot of Thompson. I think the organization wanted all these platoons. I think Mattingly gets hired. His son is the GM, and I think he wanted to do a little bit things differently than Thompson. But as this season's starting to go on now, I think he's seeing why the organization wanted to have platoons out there. It's because he's got a guy who, by the way, they caught lightning in a bottle with in the first half of the season.
Yep.
So I give him credit for pushing through with him. But now the season starts to get long, and the numbers all get to the back of the bubblegum card soon enough. And if his numbers get to the back of the bubblegum card, a chilly, cold streak is on the way.
So I look at the lineup tonight, right? And yes, what's that?
You agree with that?
What? I mean, yeah, I think they caught lightning in a bottle in the beginning half of the year, right? So you look at the lineup tonight: Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Sosa, Hill, De La Cruz, Stott, Marchand. Is that a lineup that is conducive to looking like a championship team down the line in a couple of months? Seriously, does that look like a lineup that you say that team's going to go on a run? And I know a couple of guys are sitting out tonight, but a couple of them are sitting out because of the platoons and they can't hit lefties.
I thought the same exact thing. 6, 7, 8. I'm thinking, are you kidding me with this outfield? You've got an outfield of Sosa, Hill, and De La Cruz hitting 6, 7, and 8. I mean, or is it 5, 6, 7?
Sosa's 5.
Yeah.
Because Bohm's at 4. Actually, you can start at 4. Mike, you can start at 4 because Bohm batted the 4 holes, not a championship level team. I'm sorry.
1,000%. But you're right. I said the same thing when I read the lineup out, and I said, Sosa 5, Hill 6, De La Cruz 7. Are we kidding me with this lineup? I mean, they got to do something. I mean, it's so evident. And I talked about it yesterday, which is, JT last night, he does hit the double, by the way. So he does hit the double, but then he makes a mistake. But I have to try to find a way to improve this offense. And if the only way I can improve the offense is to improve a guy like JT's spot, like if I can go get a catcher, I have to consider it.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd bring it back, especially on a 3-year deal in the offseason. Remember, it was the whole Bichette thing, and then boom, 3-year deal with JT Realmuto. And you're just like, huh? You're bringing him back? at this age and this stage of his career, I know you don't have any other really options at catcher, but man, I don't know, about 3 years, maybe a 1-year deal would have been like, all right, I could deal with that. But 3, that's way too long for a catcher at his age with his injury history at this point. You just look at the roster and the lineup. It's like it's very top heavy. You need those guys to be on a absolute heater heading into the postseason and in the postseason to even have a chance to go on the run. And then you got the problems in the bullpen, and then you also have the problems with starting pitching. So how deep are you going?
Let me add this into the mix. Okay. Right now, if you don't catch the Braves, okay, I've said this before, but now we're a month after I said it the first time. So I'm going to bring it up a second time here, a month later. You are 3 games behind the Braves, which means you can catch them.
Sure. I still think they can and will.
If you do not catch the Braves, you are currently a game and a half behind the Cubs in the wild card race. You are 3 up on the Pirates in the wild card race. By the way, the Pirates are now in the playoffs if the playoffs were to start today, which means what? You would go to Chicago, Wrigley Field, and play the Cubs. Well, if you are facing the Cubs in a playoff series, their number 1 pitcher, Imanaga, is left-handed. Their number 2 pitcher, Matthew Boyd, is also left-handed. Their number 3 and 4 pitchers also will throw left-handed. They have enough left-handed pitching that you're telling me you're going to go into a playoff series and play Sosa, Hill, and De La Cruz in a playoff series? Yikes.
It's not that we're saying the Phillies are a bad team, because they're not a bad team. They're a good team.
They're a good club.
Dave Dombrowski has talked about time and time again. They're a good team. They got 56 wins. They're 3 games out. They could win the division, but they're not a championship team. They're not a team that can beat the Dodgers. They're the team, like you mentioned, JT's going to hit the double in a big spot. You got 2 runners on, and they make a stupid base running mistake to end the game. That's the Philadelphia Phillies. That's been them over the past couple of years. They're getting older. The bullpen woes. They don't have enough pitching. And the right-handed bat's been a problem for years. And now you look at the platoons that you've created, and it's not enough. It's not enough to beat a team like the Dodgers. It's just not. Or the Brewers or the Cubs. They're just not good enough. They're a good enough team to get into the postseason, maybe win a wild card series, maybe even win a division series. Maybe. But that's about it. That's where they're at right now. That's where this team is.
I would say you can make a case that in the top 5 in the National League, they're number 5. You would say Dodgers, Brewers, Braves, Cubs, and Phillies. Those are the 5. And they're probably the 5th of those teams right now.
I mean, we're talking about skipping the 5th starter spot at this point in the season because they have no other options, because they put all of their chips in on the young cats like Andrew Painter, and it burned him. It totally burned him. He was not ready, and now look at you. You didn't sign any other pitchers. You didn't get anybody else and bring him in here. You didn't bring back a Walker Buehler or anything like that, and you got nothing. Nothing in that fifth spot.
I definitely think that Saturday he said they're not going to skip the 5th starter, but he didn't announce the 5th starter. Some people have talked about Brian Keller taking that spot. I guess Kobe Howard threw today, so he's probably not, and wouldn't be an option to pitch on Saturday. That would only be 2 days rest. So, I think it's either Keller or a bullpen game. And with this bullpen, as bad as it is, I don't think you can really ask a bullpen game and tax the bullpen.
No. And if you tax the bullpen, there's going to be nothing left by the time September and October roll around. They're just going to be out of gas at that point.
Exactly, because if you have to keep pitching them every 5th day, that's not sustainable.
August 3rd can't come soon enough. I'm very, very intrigued to see what the Phillies, Dave Dombrowski, Preston Mattingly come up with and utilize Baseball America's 29th ranked.
Now, you saw what Dombrowski said today? He said that they have plenty of people calling and asking for people in their organization.
Well,
he said that is not a worry about. He's not worried about that at all.
I mean, what else is he going to say? He's not going to say, yeah, our farm stinks. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. All right.
This was, by the way, this was out earlier today. Dave Dombrowski, I guess, was asked about, what they have in their farm system. And he essentially said, there's plenty of interest in players in our system. That's not a concern at all.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see when August 3rd comes around. We'll see what he does. All right.
2 Mondays from now. Not this Monday, next Monday.
Couple Mondays. There you go. All right. Moving along. We had to do it on elongated baseball with Dave not being here. He's down in Florida, like you said. We had to do an elongated Philadelphia Phillies nugget to start things off. But let's get a nugget number 2.
Dave texted me today, by the way, and he actually said in the text message, let me pull it back up. He said, this Phillies team better pull the trigger on a move.
He's exactly right. And we've been talking about that. If you're new to the Nuggets and usually you're tuning in at around 5:00, we've been saying that at 4:30 for about a year. About a year, we've been saying that. I'm totally with Dave on that. He is 1,000% correct. But let's get to nugget number 2. And I sent you this morning. I saw it last night. The Miami Heat YouTube channel. They got a little carried away. They were a little early, a little excited.
Now,
what did you
make? I'm already over.
You're over it?
People are over LeBron and where he's going to go. I'm already over this story of the fact that the Miami Heat YouTube channel had a press conference set, LeBron's introductory press conference. This is like you and all your friends doing the Netflix thing.
Yeah. I did one today, by the way. Did you see that one on Instagram?
I just said that. You and all your friends doing the Netflix.
Did you hit the like button? Did you hit the like button with your green Android? Did you hit the like button at least? Repost? Nothing?
Nothing. I gave you nothing.
Wow, you kept scrolling.
I'm a scroller. I'm not a liker. I don't like anything.
Your stuff. I like your stuff.
You ever notice I don't like or repost anything?
Well, you're not an Instagram guy. You're just not an Instagram guy. You're a Twitter guy.
I don't want stuff in my algorithm.
I'm an Instagram guy. I'm the Instagram cat of the station, all right?
Mm-hmm. I got
Big
you.
Instagram guy. All right. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this because I was laughing my butt off so if you went on LinkedIn, there were 2 jobs for the Miami Heat that were posted, a junior content creator and a digital YouTube strategist within the past 18 hours of like this happening. So, I guess maybe they had the fill-in guy accidentally set this up just in case it was going to happen. And they put on YouTube accidentally as an upcoming stream. It was titled LeBron James Introductory Press Conference and was slated for July 27th on YouTube, accidentally posted to the Heat's YouTube channel. And people were going nuts. The tinfoil hats were out. And then they took it down right away. And it became a massive, massive story. And I don't think, I think they were just doing this in advance, possibly. But they had an exact date for July 27th, which is interesting. You're always trying to get ahead of stuff like that and post and like have it ready to go just in case. But I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. How long does it take to set the stream up?
Not long.
Exactly. So it's like, we try to get out ahead of it. If he signed that day and had an introductory press conference, so does that make you seem more likely that he signs with Miami or that they thought he was going to sign with Miami and he didn't, and they had this thing set up and they were like, ooh, you told me he was signing here. I set it all up and everything. Well, we thought he was, and now he's not.
I don't know. See, but people with social media, they do a lot of times, like they'll set up stuff just in case prior, and then they could go in and change the date, but they want to get ahead and try and get off their plate while they're working on bigger projects. So I don't know. You can put your tinfoil hat on. They might know, but I feel like this would have came out by now, and it would have been reported that he's going here, he's going to the Heat, etc. I feel like the insiders would have had this info rather than just handed, LeBron's side of here. Let's give it to the intern or the social media guy to start posting stuff and getting stuff ready. You know what I mean?
So should I be skeptical then? Because, people are going nuts with all this insider training on like Polymarket and Kalshi and all this stuff. So is this, this is an all-time blunder by whoever did this, because
it's a bad look.
Over $200 million has been bet on LeBron's next team.
You wonder if he changes his mind because of this.
Exactly.
Can you
Well,
imagine?
maybe he was ready to announce it, and then this happened. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't go there now. It's going to look terrible."
Yeah. Golf's not as maybe the golf's not as good. Maybe the golf's a little bit better in our area.
Jeez, can you imagine? You're LeBron James. You can pretty much go anywhere you want at any time, and you're actually picking where you want to play next based on a golf course.
It's like, dude, you're literally going to be retired in like a year or two. Like, you have plenty of time to golf. Like, go win a title.
Yeah. First off, are you the kind of guy that plays a golf course and can remember the hole?
Yeah. Like where to hit. Yeah.
No, like, hey, I know, that fourth hole at like so and so.
Yes. Yes. I am one of those people. Yes.
Yeah. I have no idea.
I still have your golf clubs, by the way. They're still at my house. I still have your golf clubs.
Yeah. They're okay. They're in good hands.
I'll bring them to the LPGA next year.
That's all the only time I need them.
I'll bring them to you next year. Because what do you go once a year now?
I have no need for the guy. You know what's funny? I found my putter the other day.
There you go. You care if I borrow your 60 degree? I might borrow that next time I go out.
Take it for a spin. See how
I'll keep it in good use.
Have you played since the LPGA?
Yes, I've played multiple times.
Oh yeah, you play a lot.
I mean, I would say like 3 or 4 times I've played since the LPGA.
Huh? When do you have time to play? That's my problem. I don't have any time.
I fit it in. Yeah, I played. There was one time I did it we got 14 holes in at the Pinelands. Not too long ago. It was like late at night, right before like 8:30. We got 14 holes in out of 18 before it got dark.
That's all right. I'm a niner. I can play 9, and then I have no interest anymore. I lose interest.
Yeah, 9's fun. All right, there you go. There's the nuggets for you.
All right. Well, we'll see. No LeBron news today.
Nope.
By the way, the Red Sox have won 15 in a row. I guess that means Chapman's not getting traded.
Yeah, 15 in a row is a lot of games. A lot of games.
If they're the wild card team now.
Crazy. They were like out of it. And look, that's why like June and May, it's way too early. Way too early to decide.
It is way too early. By the way, if the playoffs were to start today, it would be the Red Sox would be the 3rd wild card team, which would be interesting because that would put them up against the best team in the American League, which right now is by far is the Tampa Bay Rays. So it'll be a little Rays Red Sox in the first round over there. On the National League side, the Pirates would be in, and they would be playing the best team in the National League, which right now is a tie between the Brewers and the Dodgers. But in the league standings, the tiebreaker would be the Dodgers. So it would be Dodgers, Pirates, Cubs, Phillies in the first rounds. So there
you go. All right.
Actually, no, it would be. I'm wrong about that. It would be Braves, Pirates in the first round.
Okay.
Dodgers and the Brewers would both have the bye.
Right. Well, they're not going to win. The Phillies aren't going to win anything with base running like that. So you better not see that again tonight.
All right. There's the Nuggets today. Thanks, Nick.
Peace.
All right. We'll hear more from Don Mattingly coming up on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. Is he thinking about platooning Brandon Marsh full time now? It sure sounds like it's an option. I think you should do it. I got to get Marsh out of the lineup. I like Marsh. He's had a great year. I got to get out of I can't have him in my lineup against left-handed pitching. It just doesn't work for me. Doesn't work. This hour brought to you by Cross County Connection. 6 South Jersey Connects shuttles. They provide fare, free transportation across southern Jersey. Get a ride, connect to job, college, healthcare, shopping, government service, NJ Transit HUDs, all at no cost to riders. Details, 856-229-7571, driveless.com. Coming up, you'll hear what Don Mattingly had to say today. Just about 30 minutes ago, he had his pregame with the media, and you'll hear some of the stuff that he had to say about pitching the fifth starter spot Saturday. Marsh possibly platooning. De La Cruz is up. He's in the lineup today. That's all still to come. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. 5:32. We got Phils tonight. We got Phillies this weekend. Sunday Night Baseball is on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies take on the Yankees. You can hear the game. Coverage starts at 6:30. First pitch for Sunday Night Baseball, 7:20 from Citizens Bank Park. Anybody go to the game last night in the listening audience? Anybody go up there? Raining, nasty. And then you get to the end of the game. I don't know if you stuck it out and checked out the way that game ended last night. I mean, literally, I was in the kitchen. I got the game on. I could hear it. And I hear the double from Real Muto. It's second and third. So I come running back around into the living room. And then I forgot something. So I go running back. And I hear the pitch. And then I hear, and that'll end the game. And I'm like, how did this game just end with the runners at second and third and one out? I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. It was unbelievable. It was complete ineptitude. And we always want to try to say, blame this guy, blame that guy. I think the problem the Phillies have, this is a perpetual thing for them. They're just not a good base running team. And I will say, teaching base running it's a skill in itself to be able to find the right person that can get to the person to say, if this situation happens, you got a guy on second and third baseman's even with the bag on the grass, you got a left-handed batter up, and he hits a cue shot to the third baseman. The two runners are being instructed, you're going on contact. That's the thing I don't particularly like the going on contact no matter what situation. You got a runner on third base. You're saying, hey, they're back in the middle. Anything in the middle, you're breaking on contact. But if the ball's hit right to third base, I can't ask you to go. If the ball's hit right to this guy, he's the one guy on the field. You can't go. The problem is, and it's another thing you're talking to the guy. If you're the third base coach in that situation, you got to be telling the guy on third base, hey, make sure that you can get back on a ball hit to this guy right here. So you can only go as far as he goes. Make sure you can get back if a ball's hit on a line to that guy. Let's say there's a line drive. Now, you got a left-handed batter. One of the things is maybe he's late on a ball against a left-handed pitcher. And if he's late and he hits a line drive right at the third baseman, you got to be able to get back. So your leadoff third base can't be further than where the third baseman can get to the bag before you. That's one thing that constantly happens. You get a guy on third, he wants to take this ridiculously big lead, whereas if you're just a better base runner, you stay tight to the bag so that you can get back on a line drive and on a ground ball to the third baseman. But if you read the ball off the bat right away, you can see, okay, this ball's hit to second. Now I can start going, boom, off the crack of the bat. But that's like many times you have somebody that can see the spin on a pitch off the pitcher's hand. You can see the spin and see, hey, he's throwing something off speed. You also have to be able to be able to read a ball off the bat and say that ball's going to second or that ball's going to the right side. I can go right away. Because if not, the ball hit to the third baseman like that, you're being told you're going on contact. He's just doing what he's told. That's why I don't love the going on contact. You're going on contact within reason. The way that usually it should be worded. You're going on contact unless the ball's hit right to the guy here at third base. That's the one guy on the field you can't go to. Don Mattingly was asked today about Brandon Marsh. He is out of the lineup today. Brian De La Cruz is in the lineup. What is he hoping to get out of De La Cruz now that he is up here? So that's Don Mattingly. Yeah, he had Brian De La Cruz in Miami with the Marlins. But he said he's more comfortable in right and left, but, he could play all three. But I think this is the beginning of Mattingly understanding that I need another right-handed bat because if I hit for somebody, I need to be able to flip back, and I can't do this right now. So he's starting to sense I probably can't use Marsh against lefties as much as I would like to or thought that I could. And now he did say about Sosa using him in the infield a little bit more. That's something that we talked about yesterday or Tuesday, I guess it was. Yesterday was Tuesday, maybe Monday. But they don't have the flexibility to be able to do that until they brought De La Cruz up here. Now, let's not act like De La Cruz is some, MVP level addition to the middle of this lineup. But what he could do possibly is play against left-handed pitching, like tonight against Lauer on Saturday. I think they're facing a lefty as well. So all of the things that this team can't do, a lot of it has to do with the lack of depth. They just don't have the depth to their roster right now where you have to almost play Marsh against lefties. But I do think that this is the beginning of Marsh possibly taking a step back and playing less against lefties. Now, the way he said it, was, hey, back-to-back lefties. He doesn't want to do that, but he did acknowledge that his numbers against lefties are starting to slip. Last year against lefties, Marsh hit 197, and he's not quite there yet, but he's trending down to that direction. How many people out there, 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board, how many people out there think that they should consider platooning Marsh again? I'm interested to see how many people actually are like, you know what? Marsh is I'm acknowledging that Marsh is a great story, and was great for the first half of the season. He was. But against left-handed pitching, he's been terrible. And I say the word is terrible. And I told you guys earlier, like if you ask, what's a good on-base percentage? His on-base percentage is just league average. That's against righties and lefties. His on-base percentage as a left-handed hitter against left-handed pitching is in the category that would be deemed poor. Like the way you kind of break it down, an elite player would be like 390 and above. That's an MVP. That's your Sotos, your Judges, Ohtani. They're 300 above 400. If you're an all-star caliber player, 360 to 390, you're in that range. If you're an average player, you're just an average player, above average player. Let's go above average. You're a good player. 335 to 360. You're somewhere in that range. Marsh is, even with the season that he's having, all-star season, his on-base percentage is in the league average category. So he wasn't even above average or good or great or elite, nothing. Just league average. So you got to think about that. Shaner and EAC chimes in. Says, I would look at the pitcher and a guy like last night, sit him, and if the pitcher has over 4 ERA, give him a go. Fair compromise. He earned a little bit of chance. He's also proved he needs some help. Yeah, I think that is kind of what Mattingly has said. That's a good text there, Shaner. He did kind of say that back-to-back lefties, he probably, wants to separate them, but that he will have to evaluate something here because he's noticing the numbers are starting to slip. Listen, I've been saying it all season. And listen, you could say you've been wrong all season. That's fine. I'm okay with being wrong all season, but it's a long season. I did not need to see Brandon Marsh. I have no need to see Brandon Marsh play every day. It's not like, oh, this makes me feel better that Brandon Marsh plays every day. I don't need to see Brandon Marsh play every day. I want a better team out there. I want to give my team a better chance to win. And I'm glad that whoever's putting this lineup together is starting to understand that he probably is better suited to not face left-handed pitching. Now, I don't know that means on Saturday maybe he's back in the lineup against lefties. Because quite frankly, they don't have a lot of options. They don't have a lot of options to play. You know, you might have a day where Marsh plays left, Hill plays center, De La Cruz plays right, and then Marsh sits in the 8-hole. Just because one thing that Don Mattingly did say is he wants to have a better defensive team. Now, maybe Brian De La Cruz gives this team a little offensive boost. I don't anticipate that either, just for the record. But then he comes out there, gives your team a little spark, and then all of a sudden you can say, okay, Brandon Marsh can play left field to give us better defense, but he's going to hit 8 in the lineup. And we don't have to have as much expectation for him. The problem is right now, against right-handed pitching, he's hitting 4th. And now all of a sudden, he's not in the lineup tonight. And I don't know if that's because of what happened last night or not, or it's because it's the second left-handed pitcher back-to-back. It is what it is. They got to strengthen the offense. They know it. You know it. I know it. He knows it. She knows it. Everybody knows it. So let's get it done. Can we get that done? I don't know if I feel very confident about that. Trade deadline August 3rd, 2 Mondays from now. We'll have it covered here for you on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. We got a big audience on YouTube today. Always appreciate everybody watching on YouTube. And if you want to comment, hit the like button and hit the comment buttons, and you can comment on the live stream on YouTube. That's always a great way to be a part of the show. If you're driving in the car, you can always text in on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. One name that I would say we got to keep an eye on is Andrew Painter. He did pitch the other day. I think he pitched, was it yesterday, last night? And we got to keep an eye on him because of the Phillies pitching situation being so bleak. Are the Phillies ready to call him back up? But Ken Rosenthal mentioned that the Tigers are seeking a controllable starting pitcher as part of any Skubal trade. And he mentions potential fits. Emmett Sheehan, who we saw for the Dodgers on Monday night. Logan Henderson. I like him a lot, by the way. And Seymour. A.J. Smith, Shawver from Atlanta. Will Warren or Ryan Weathers from the Yankees. And Andrew Painter. Those are the guys he mentioned as the fits. And Ian Seymour, by the way, is the other one. Did I say Seymour? I think I did. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But those are the names that he said as potential fits. I think I'm at the point where I would trade Andrew Painter. And I'm a big Painter fan, and I'm not bailing on him. But if I can get Skubal, man, I don't see how I balk at that. Would you trade Andrew Painter and Skubal could walk in the offseason and live with the possibility that Painter has 10 to 15 years of Sodom? How old's Painter? 21? Let's see how old Painter is right now. Painter is, I know he missed 2 full seasons, so he might be a little older than I thought. But are you willing to take the chance that Skubal ends up, being Painter ends up being a big-time top of the rotation pitcher? He's 22 years old. So, yeah, he could pitch another, at least 10 years. He's 32. He's still cruising along at 32. Would you be willing for possibly 12 games of Skubal, 15 games, 10 games, however many games he would get? 60 games left every fifth day, 12 starts. I'd probably say sign me up. How about you? Sports Best Live 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, we'll finish up the show. Don't forget, starting August 3rd, 10 a.m. to noon is changing on 97.3 ESPN. The Golics are back. Mike Golick Jr. and Mike Golick Sr. form the Golics. Weekdays from 10 to noon, only on 97.3 ESPN. I get ready to get out of here, but first, let me tell you about my friends at Clark's Moving and Storage. You know, we all have made the big move before. You've done it. I've done it. Friends, family. The worst is when your friends or family say, "Do you want to help me move?" That's when you're like, "No, I don't." Why not call Clark's Moving and Storage for your next big move? It's easy to do. They do it on time. They took care of everything for me. You don't have to do anything. Not a scratch, a mark, nothing. And they're local. Local guys, local company right there in Rio Grande, 609-889-0780, Clark's Moving and Storage. They can store all your stuff while you're waiting for the big move, and then they can help you move it from here to there and everywhere. That's my guys at Clark's Moving and Storage, offering a wide variety of residential and commercial moving services and storage solutions. That's it for me. Josh is off today. He'll be back tomorrow. We have very quiet night on the sports scene. Do have the Phillies and the Dodgers tonight, so we will be back on tomorrow with all the reaction to that. And we're one day closer to Eagles training camp, and the LeBron watch continues. And what else? I definitely think that LeBron will be making a decision soon because football camps are about to open. So if he wants to get any of the oxygen, he'll probably get it anyway. Who am I kidding? All right, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow right here, back on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, you can watch the show on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel.